Okay, hey guys. I know this is not church lady. Church lady, well, look, there are good days and bad days with complex regional pain syndrome, and that particular day was not good. Let me close my closet door because, look, I hide my mess in my closet. I pretend not to. But when you're the only one in your family that's going to do low carb, and Kroger has a ginormous sale on uh, protein shakes and protein peanut butter cups and all the things, you get all of the things. Hey, guys. So today is kind of just an impromptu chat, search, stream. And what would you guys like to cover? I have fully covered day one, including opening statements with notes on the Scott Peterson case. Um, we can do the last witness on the first day. He kind of goes into the next day, is an officer that was there, um, as a layperson. He was volunteer, working on the baseball field, and at first you think, "Oh my goodness, this is a terrible witness to bring up for the defense," because he is kind of that lone, unarmed, diehard person that's, like, running towards danger. "Hey, Jamie, where have I been? Where have you been? Long time no see." Oh, thank you. Well, then I think I might pull him up because, I don't believe in him so far. I haven't gotten to the second day, but there is no audio, and I will warn you guys, day 1 has some horrible audio. You don't get to see the, video, but, it pans to the parents a couple times, and there's one particular father that has earplugs in his ears, and he still visibly breaks down. "Hey, Flux." So it is definitely, one that I am glad to just go through and give you guys kind of brief rundowns, but it is a tough trial, so I am going to try to include those timestamps. So if you want to, go and watch a full day and not just have the recap, then you kind of know exactly what you're getting into. So let me pull up another page here. By the end of the year, I am going to be Neo from, oh gosh, The Matrix. Well, the first Matrix. The other movies were weird to me. Okay. So and he's a genuinely likable guy, so you feel almost like, "Oh my gosh, this is a terrible witness for the defense," because he is kind of this soul of bravery man in, baseball shorts and, a t-shirt that is running towards the danger. He's not even armed. But as it keeps going through, you see that it was a cluster, as Nick would say, from the beginning. So let me get this up, and I'm going to put him back to, 1 speed or normal speed because he was he talks awfully fast for a Southerner. Get the volume up. Now, this particular gentleman, has been an officer for a long time. He usually worked evenings, and he is a canine training officer, currently. So, really, he is like the Joe Everyman super duper cop that you really want, to be on your side. And the sound doesn't come back until they come in. Well, this courthouse has more breaks than the New Hampshire one.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh,
please may be seated. All the parties may be seated.
shoot. Hey, guys. So let me
Ladies and gentlemen, those of you using the notepads, I'll give you a moment to get the notepads out. Minor technical issue, give me 1 moment.
Judge Hank Hill is I love that he has his own IT person. I need my own IT person. I'm just saying for Christmas, Santa.
Okay, state, ladies and gentlemen, when we took our final restroom break of the day, we were in the middle of the state's presentation. We're going to resume at that point. State, when you're ready, you may call your next witness.
Officer Jeffrey Heinrich.
Now, I do warn you that he does break up a little bit. Both his wife
Sir, if I
and
can
son were
call
at
you
the
up here to
school
the
that
witness stand,
day.
please. Yes, sir. Once you reach it, but before you have a seat, you can just stop and look at me. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. I do. Please be seated. And once you're seated, if I could just get that chair all the way up as far as it will go. Can you please state your full name and spell your full name?
Sure, Jeffrey Allen Heinrich. Last name is Heinrich.
Jeffrey.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Ms. Gomes, you may inquire.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Is it officer,
It's
detective?
Sergeant.
Sergeant, I
Yes, ma'am.
apologize.
That's
Good
okay.
afternoon, Sergeant Heinrich. Please introduce yourself to jury. Tell them where you currently work.
I'm currently a canine supervisor, canine sergeant at Coral Springs Police Department.
How long have you been with the Coral Springs Police?
A
And
little,
it's Coral Springs. I had to rewind it at least 3 times because I thought it was Cold Springs, and then I had to dual research, and I was like, "There is no Cold Springs Police. It's Coral." He doesn't enunciate as much as I needed
over
him to do
27
my
years.
notes.
Could you give us just a little bit of background of your time at the Coral Springs Police Department? What are some of the positions that you've held?
Yeah, I've mostly worked midnights almost my entire career. I started off first as a police officer on the road, became a regular canine officer. Spent most of the time on midnights at that time. I left the canine unit, went back to the road for a few years, and then I became an SRO. I was a school resource officer at Coral Springs High School for about 4 years. After that, I got promoted, went back to midnights, the midnight shift, as a new sergeant. And then when the sergeant position opened up as a canine sergeant, one of our canine sergeants retired, I took his position, and that's where I've been currently.
What are some of your responsibilities as canine sergeant?
We run a 5 or 6 dog team. I'm tasked with their daily duties, responsibilities to supervise them, scheduling, evaluations, training. I'm also the lead trainer for our canine unit. So that encompasses most of what I do.
What were some of your responsibilities as an SRO?
I'm sorry?
What were some of your responsibilities as an SRO?
I was a school resource officer, like I said, for 4 years. We investigated crimes. We counseled, mentored, you name it. I worked at Coral Springs High School, which is one of our tougher schools in our area. We had a pretty bad gang problem, so a lot of it came down to mentoring. But there was quite a bit of crime, unfortunately, and fights and things like that on a daily basis. So we dealt with that, tried to curb that type of stuff, as well as just the common stuff as far as bullying, things like that we'd have, or any crime that happened on campus that we would have to investigate, including like child abuse and things like that.
So, at first, when I was starting to listen to this, I was like, "Oh my gosh, he was an SRO." He's eminently likable. He seems to be very humble but talkable. Just eh, I was worried how the defense was going to handle him, and I haven't seen the rest of his direct because it goes into the next day, and I literally just got done with the notes for today or day 1 this morning. So at first I was really getting worried like, okay, this is going to look so terrible for Peterson if this guy, is likable and was able to do more than he could. But as it goes forward, I think you'll see that the situation was beyond chaotic, and singling out one person for the blamed seems a little cowardly and scapegoaty to me, but
While you were acting as an SRO, did you ever perform any administrative searches of backpacks or lockers?
All the time, yes. We've done, I can't tell you how many, you act as a school resource officer, you act as basically as a parent. You're kind of considered in that role. So
and this part of his thing, really gave me pause. I don't know if his aligning it to being a parent was something that the state really told him to focus on, because their entire, ethos or theory is that, you know, Officer Peterson, is charged with child neglect, and that's something that would typically be more a parental crime or at least a guardian. So if he is likening an SRO to a parent, is that something that came naturally, or was that something that the state kind of told him, like, I know you're not supposed to coach, but the state could gently remind him to say several times?
So you have exceptions to where you can actually search people's backpacks, things like that. It's kids' school, stuff like that. If we get a call of somebody that may have narcotics, we can actually bring that person into school and actually search their backpack, stuff like that. So we would do that.
So this is also a warning to your children. Not that I would assume anyone from my chat would have children that would take nefarious things to schools, but apparently these SROs in at least Florida are allowed to search things without warrants. So I don't know what it's like in your location, or even if you need to have school searches in your location, but maybe warn your children and keep in mind that apparently in Florida, they do not have to get warrants or things like that.
of stuff on a very regular basis at the school that I was at.
And that's different than needing a search warrant, right?
That's correct. Out in the public, or if I was working the road out as a officer, I would need probable cause. I would need much more than that. With working in the schools, because of the safety of the students, I guess your longitude would be a little bit broader.
Now, do you yourself live in the South Coral Springs area?
Yes, I live in Coral Springs. I've actually grew up there. I went to Coral Springs High School.
And are you familiar with Marjorie Stoneman Douglas?
Yes, my wife and my son both. My wife worked there as a teacher, and my son was a student there.
Back in February of 2018, was your wife employed at Stoneman Douglas?
Yes, she was a PE teacher as well as an assistant athletic director.
And was your son in February of 2018 enrolled at that school?
Yes, he was a junior.
Were you working on February 14th of 2018?
No, I was actually, my son played baseball there, so I was actually out on the baseball field. I manicure the baseball, I guess that would be the best word. I'm a lawn maintenance guy, I guess you want to call it. So I take care of the actual playing surface, which is the clay. And then I also, the infield's made out of grass, so I'll mow the infield. If you have any dealing
He's
with
so
the county, you don't
sweet.
really want the county maintenance people coming in and dealing with this stuff. We had a really nice field, so we tried to keep it that way. So I was there regularly dealing with the maintenance, day-to-day maintenance of the field and preparing the field and stuff like that for practices and things like that.
And to clarify, you weren't paid to do this?
No, it was strictly volunteer. It was because my son Kevin has grown up playing with the head coach there, which is Todd Fitzgerald. He's played with him since they were 8 years old. So I've known them for 20 something years.
So on the 14th, was it your day off as far as law enforcement work goes, but you were working in the field?
Yeah, I don't remember 100% if I was completely off, but I would have been, if I was working, I would have been working midnights. So I don't know if I went in before work. I don't have that recollection. But at the time that I was on the field, it was my own time. I was there just helping out.
Describe for the jury, if you recall, approximately what time you would have arrived at school.
Yeah, probably, I'm usually there an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours before school.
Okay, one thing, Farrell, you're gonna notice is that this particular witness loves to talk. I mean, I call her the lady lawyer, but I know I should know her name, and I have it in my notes, but I'm not getting those out. I call her the lady lawyer. She almost has to jump in there and, kind of say, "Hey, hey, hey, no monologuing. We can't monologue. You have" because that can be an objection for narrative. I believe that came up in the Theodore Edgecombe case when the wife was testifying, and she kinda liked to go into a monologue too, which I completely understand, but they have to be direct answers to questions, I believe. Y'all know that my legal degree is look, I'm working on my semi-realtor license, and then I will work on pre-law.
School starts or gets out, so probably between 12 and 1. I don't have independent recollection of exactly what time I'm there, but I would safe to say probably an hour. And I used to go, they'd have a security guard at the back gate. I'd call the security guard, they'd let me in the back gate, and I'd drive back to the back of the field.
Here's the other thing that is infuriating to me about this trial, and I know this isn't the, shooter's trial, but this particular gentleman had to have a gate open. I am not a biologist. She is a female presenting lawyer. Yeah, she did kind of go on a long ramble about her son's bits and pieces for reasons. Um, oh gosh, what was that? Okay, so he had to get this, police officer has to get a gate opened. How in the ever loving Cheetos did that particular individual that caused all this get an Uber and drive right up to the daggone building? I explain that one to me. I'm sure there was, like, no gates for that particular area.
Where I was, where actually, which is exactly what I did that day. And I parked my truck on the backside of the baseball field.
You're out on the baseball field. Describe for the jury what happens while you're on the baseball field.
Sure. Just out there, we have a fire hose apparatus that you wet down the clay because in South Florida, the clay, it's very hot. So the clay dries out very quickly. So there's a lot of dust and things like that. So help the playing surface
I am learning all the baseball things. I had no idea you had to water the clay part. I thought it was dirt. I didn't realize it was clay.
we water it with a big fire hose. So there's a fire hose in the middle of the field apparatus that you can hook up. So I was between third base and second base, which is the shortstop area, and facing towards the school, which would have been east there. And I was actually just physically watering the field when I heard the fire alarm go off. Fire alarm went off. I worked in schools. It's a normal, everyday thing. Someone in culinary is always burning something or anything like that. So it's not uncommon for that. So, but where I could see the kids walking out from between, it would be between like the gymnasium and the 1300 building. And you could see them walking. They were walking towards me, towards the baseball field.
Sergeant, can I put up a picture?
Sure.
So, just to help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she definitely has to stop him from monologuing.
Judge, may I use the monitor to show what's already in evidence as states one? I don't know if it's. Can you see states one in front of you?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Ms. Gomes, would you have the TV on?
Yes, please. Okay, so you were just referencing the field that you were, I guess, manicuring.
Correct, that's the one, correct, directly right next to the football field.
Okay.
It's
your
the one
screen
that
is
looks
actually
like a
tracking.
baseball
Oh, yeah.
field.
So I'm going to,
Yep.
in just a moment.
Sure.
I do like this particular bird's eye view because it does definitely give more weight, and you get kind of the sense of how big these buildings are. I mean, that's one football field. It looks like you've got at least three for the campus, and you've got all these buildings and squares. I am going to have Valhalla on at some point to talk about, how difficult it is to locate a person with handheld force multipliers. Uh, when there's close, tight buildings. I mean, and I was unfortunate enough to have to be watching the Law and Cuck, recording of this with the, chat replay, and the amount of stupidity I saw on there, like, "Well, he coulda just found it." Like, people that live in this, he could have definitely just figured that out. He should have known, he should have gone all, Agent 41 and parkoured his way up full Assassin Creed style. It's a fantasy, it's what we wish would have happened, but to put the blame on one particular person beyond the person that did it, I think is really kinda crappy.
Okay, if you select the pencil
Sure.
option and see the bottom left.
I get it.
Oh lord, this is
Okay,
why I
great.
couldn't
I'm
be.
gonna ask you to please circle where
It's
you
pretty
were,
big.
when you first heard the fire
Y'all, I
alarm
don't
go
do
off.
Gonna be right
spatial
in that area
awareness, so
there.
it just looks big.
Now, you were just describing students that you saw.
Yeah, you could see them, so this walkway right here that comes out, this walkway comes from the school. So you could see the kids just walking out here, and like it would be a normal fire alarm going off. There was people just, like I said, casually walking just as like a fire alarm, dismissal for a fire alarm. It was close to the end of school, so it was nothing, like I said, nothing concerning. Was out there, and then I don't know, a minute or so later ago, I heard what I thought at the time, and I said in my deposition was fireworks. It sounded like final like a couple.
Okay, just a check of the chat. Have many of you, when you were in high school, regardless of when that was, did you take firecrackers to school? Is this a Florida thing? Someone make it make sense, because as a person, it seems I get that. I am just saying, if you will listen now, I will put it, when I do my roundup. I might possibly do a week 1 and week 2 roundup, just because a lot of these witnesses are foundational at this point. Well, Florida man starts early apparently. In high school, you take firecrackers. What was I gonna say? No idea. We'll just go with it. So, it does strike me as okay, let me see if I can do this. I am going to be a genius. Maybe I can do it. I did it! I am Hello, Salvador. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good. So, let me see if I can get us to where we can be. Aha!
Nice job.
You know what? So my husband is going to look at I looked at all of the tutorials on easy how to make overlays.
Mm.
And in future, I need to be involved in every tutorial that says easy, because they greatly underestimate my ability to cock things up.
Of course.
So they definitely need me on there to get in touch with the everyman.
Yes.
All right.
Couple bangs going off. Again, I didn't think anything of it because I'm not getting anything else. The kids are still walking normal. Nobody's running. Nothing seems to be wrong. So I kind of disregarded it as, maybe that was the reason the fire alarm. Maybe someone threw a pack of firecrackers inside the school. Like I said, it's not
What I did note down in my notes is that he too disregarded the first couple shots.
Hmm.
It seems like, I guess, firecrackers in buildings are
Yeah,
a relatively normal thing.
it is Florida, so
Well, that's what I said. I said Florida man starts early.
yeah.
But I'm trying to look at it fairly objectively, and initially I thought he was going to be very bad for the defense.
Yeah.
Because he's an unarmed police officer who ran. I mean, you'll hear he ran towards the fire even though he was, not in a uniform and could do basically nothing.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, once he gets into his story, I mean, it is chaotic. So
Oh, yeah.
it really, they're signaling out someone when you'll hear of a bunch of officers that have no idea what is going on.
Yeah, it takes time to figure
Silly
everything out.
things at schools. They do it all the time. So I figured that's what was going on. And then again, a little bit longer time went. I heard another round of gunshots. What I believe, well, at the time, again, what I figured they were fireworks. But this time things changed. So kids started running. I could see kids actually, sprinting down that pathway towards me. So it's not common for kids to behave that way for a normal fire drill.
Now,
So,
Sergeant,
yes,
and I'm just gonna ask a couple
absolutely.
questions.
Yeah,
He's
narrative much.
monologuing.
So that things
I swear to God, 90% of my notes are, and lady lawyer jumps in.
Trying to get him back on track.
Well, I mean, he's staying on a chronological
Sure.
track, but generally they have to, say,
Yes.
okay, what caused you to think blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then they can continue on the story. But you'll notice lady lawyer just kind of like, "But if you, I would,
Please.
she just
Please
needs a little
stop.
sign."
Yeah.
changed for you. What do you mean by that?
My observations, like I said, when you're watching kids, and as a police officer, you watch people. My wife says all the time, I'll be sitting in a restaurant and I watch how people interact. I watch how people talk, how their body
At
language.
least he's not talking about his son's undescended
Yes. Testicle.
I swear to God, I felt so bad for the Theodore Edgecombe wife, but I was like, I felt worse for the son.
Yeah. His mom, he's probably screaming at his mom to shut up.
Like, I remember when he was 7 and he just didn't have any berries and we were all worried, and
And then his
husband was-
testicle had cancer and
and I felt bad because I'm sure it was a terrible situation,
yeah.
but I was also like,
what? Pick
What
another
just-
story.
I was just like,
Bad
even
example.
yeah, poor woman.
Right, you learn that by experience and just dealing with people on a daily basis. So you could see that things change from a situation where it was just a normal situation or a normal fire alarm to something that was probably a little bit more serious or more demanding of the time. I still wasn't 100% sure what was going on, but obviously it was concerning to me.
Now, in response to.
Any idea how many
seeing
minutes
these changes,
into it this is for him?
I believe this is about 15. He's continuing on direct to tomorrow. I don't know what happens tomorrow, because I only just got done with today. But yeah, he is in full monologue mode.
Okay.
He is Ben Shapiro levels of wordiness.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Luna.
Hey, I'm okay. Huh. Testicle Tuesday is going to be a
Oh, yes.
fun day.
The Testicle Festival.
Yes.
I know what's going on. Why do you move towards that direction?
Well, when the second round of
He does. Wow.
Now I can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Damn it. So this particular gentleman is Jeff, the canine officer. He was at the school in an unofficial capacity because his son attends and plays baseball. So he was working on watering the red stuff and making sure the grass was all doing the stuff. that, you have to do with the sports ball. And he started to notice, well, first he heard what he thought were fireworks, and apparently fireworks in school per two different individuals are a normal Florida occurrence. So the fire alarm went off and he noticed kids coming out. Now he's about to transition into what he's noticing, the demeanor of the children changing. They're starting to run, and he's getting that little spidey sense maybe that the fireworks are not fireworks.
Yeah.
Mr. Shapiro is an in fact lawyer, and I am just a fake lawyer, so I have nothing to say allegedly on paper on pencil.
There you go.
Shots, which I now know they were gunshots, went off, and the things
That's
changed.
Thor.
It brought
Thor's
light
a
to me
little
that, okay,
Joe
no
Biden-y.
longer was it
What's your
just
cat doing?
fireworks. This was something that was definitely
He's Joe
more
Biden.
going
I
on,
swear to
and
God,
that
he
I
wants
needed
to sniff my
go
hair.
towards that and find
Come
out
on.
if this was actually an active shooter.
Thought my cats were bad.
Exactly what was going in my mind. Is
So let
this,
me slow you down.
yeah.
What was, in reference to trying to figure out what was.
Shut up.
at that point, once people started.
Let me ask a
running,
question,
I
please.
believe that those were gunshots.
That's
They
pretty
weren't
much the
firefighters
entire
any longer.
thing.
Based on my observations and things. So I resorted back to our training. Our training is that you run towards the sound of gunfire. I mean, it's what we're trained to do. We do, as far as our active.
So this is where I was getting that kind of thing in my stomach, like, oh God, this is going to be a terrible witness
Yeah.
for the defense. Because he's like, it's single officer, single, action, full die hard, like I got no shoes on,
Yeah. Just go
we're
out.
going to Nakatomi Tower and we are taking care of business. Although I always thought Hans Gruber was much cuter, but
Anyway.
anyways, back on the tangent. So he definitely, I was worried, but then as he starts continuing to monologue, you can get the chaos that was this.
Yeah. And unless you
our
know,
active killer,
Oh, sorry. I'm learning
No, it's
the
active shooter response is single purpose, single officer. You go to the sound of gunfire.
it is
So
nice.
I didn't have a gun with me that day, unfortunately.
Really?
I do carry my gun off duty sometimes. Back then, now I carry it everywhere I go, unfortunately.
and this is where you can definitely, every single person in this, and maybe it's my bias, but it looks like Scott Peterson is just tormented
Oh, yeah.
by this day. So, I mean, you'll start to hear Officer Jeff just start to break up a little bit too. So, forewarning, he continues to talk, but he gets a little broken up.
Sure.
But that day I chose not to carry it. And there's multiple reasons for that. My kid uses my truck. He leaves his stuff in my truck. I was wearing a pair of baseball shorts and a t-shirt. I was out mowing the yard, using water. All those things are not good for firearms. And a lot of times,
I feel like she's going to get a sign. Well, this was the part of the thing where I was like, he wasn't coached, because she would have come up with like a hand, like,
Yeah. Like tap your watch or something like that.
Are you wearing?
I'm wearing just a pair of short t-shirts, basketball shorts, and a t-shirt.
You don't have your firearm and
No.
you're in athletic clothing,
Correct.
but you run towards the sounds of the gunfire.
Yeah, it was just instinct. I wanted to find out what was going on. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do if I encountered something, but so I took off running towards through the gate. There's a gate right here at the end of the baseball field. I ran through that gate and then up along that corridor until you can see that little shed. I'll redo it for you. So you come through this there and you come through, and then there's a shed right about here. There was a security specialist, Elliot Bonner, was there. He's an old coach that I've known for, 30 years.
Imagine small talk with this guy.
this is where you realize you are in the South, even though he talks like in
Yes.
Yankee. So
He
But
talks
he's
quick
like-
though.
He's like, "Well, that was Jim Marson. He was down by the Elk Lodge. We used to know him, but he got lost in Vietnam for a while. But then we came back, and his mama's name I don't recall, but her son is the mechanic that we use."
And she makes great fried chicken. I want to give you that recipe.
Swear to goodness, I know everyone has their own fake country, and mine is Georgia. I know Nick's is Nick Recatus is Australia, but mine is
Yeah.
Georgia because
Yes.
every time I think about it, I'm usually researching about Stalin or listening to something. I'm like, has he never tried soul food? How can you be so mad? Then I'm like, Dingleberry, it's the other Georgia.
I know.
All right, let's hear him monologue some more.
Yeah.
Former military guy, everything, done just about everything you can believe. He played in the NFL all the way down. I met him he was on his golf cart. He was backing up to where that shed was. He immediately told me, and our conversation was very, very short. Immediately
First
told
time in
me,
his life.
Sir, facts not in evidence. There is no he spent 15 minutes
Asking
fixing to
him
talk
about
about
his mom's recipes and
surprised defense didn't come in.
Yeah.
Facts not in evidence. This man doesn't know how to have short conversation. His wife hasn't spoken a full sentence in 37 years.
it was a code red, which from my training experience meant basically we're locked down. It's an imminent threat, active killer type situation. And then he said it was an active killer, active shooter. There was an active shooter, and that Coach Feist had gotten shot.
oh, he stopped.
While you're standing there and you get that information, how does that change what you do next?
Coach Feist, well, I knew 100% what we were dealing with at that point. So Coach Feist, I mean, I've known Coach Feist for years that my son was his football coach.
He was at his baptism. Good guy.
Knowing that it is an actually true active shooter, but at that point there was no stimulation, there was no gunfire. Didn't know exactly where it was. I knew.
Drive safe, Dennis Heaton. No sexting or any weird MLM
Aw.
Mormon stuff.
Gosh.
I mean, look, Latter-day Saints are okay. MLMs are not.
It was somewhere in the area of that for us, it would have been the northwest area of the school, somewhere around the gym, 1,300 buildings, 1,200. That's where it sounded like it was coming from.
And let me slow you down a couple things there. How did you know that it was coming from that direction if you hadn't actually been standing near where the gunshots were happening?
Well, I didn't when I was back. I mean, I couldn't tell exactly where they were coming from when I was back on the baseball field. But
Well, that's
when
not
I
good
got
for the
close to
state.
the building and went towards the building, and
So I will say that on day one, they did a recording of dispatch. So you hear, I think, no less than 9 different locations where this could possibly be. It's football field, it's 300 building, it's the 700 building, it's over
Sorry,
by
Archie.
the street. I love cat holes. I love them to death, but they're like, are you trying to people? That is, I think that's the first fortunate pause I've had all trial.
got and observations from people running away from those buildings. The information I got from Coach Bonner. But then I still didn't have that stimulation of the gunshot starting again.
He talks a lot about
So-
stimulation, forewarning.
Okay.
So I walked from where I was with Coach Bonner into this parking lot area, right about into here. That's where I came across Kyle Lamont.
Okay,
And
I do wanna-
Stop.
so I do want to say that right now and coming up to it, he does start talking about a student that was injured. So fair warning. I mean, it doesn't get too graphic, but it is an injured student.
Sure.
So
was a student that was on the third floor of the building that had been shot. He had actually ran down from the third floor, and I met him in the parking lot. When he came across, he was running, obviously. He was screaming, yelling. He'd been shot. He wanted his mom. He wanted us to call his mom. So he had a catastrophic leg injury. I don't remember which leg it was. I can't recall it this time. I think it was his right leg. It was to me, based on my experience, was a life-threatening injury. Being that I didn't have a weapon, my first priority at that point is to take care of this kid and make sure he doesn't die. So I grabbed him.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's okay.
Talk very fast, I have to slow down
I'm
just a
sorry.
bit.
She's like, we're not used to Yankee down here. I don't know what to do with this. It's like Ben Shapiro moving to, was it
Like-
Tennessee?
Ben Shapiro on Adderall.
Yeah, and he's so sweet and affable.
He is.
You like him. You're like, I would love to sit and have a picnic with you. And then, okay,
With
I
time
figured out who
limits.
he is. The Tom Bombadil of this trial. He and Gandalf sat there and talked for like 3 effing years at the end of Lord of the Rings.
This is why the trial's going to be 3 months.
It's just this particular officer for years.
Yeah, like the O.J. Simpson long trial.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I stupidly picked this thinking it was the other Scott
Yeah.
Peterson. And then I was like, well, it's my first solo trial. And then they said, and 3 months. And I was like,
Yeah, kind of like the Murdaugh trial. Although that was supposed to only be 2 weeks.
yeah, the Letitia Stalk trial.
Hmm.
Although that was
That was what, 3 weeks?
he's still talking about Bobby and them. And you're just like, I just like some nuggets.
I just want a Diet Coke, please.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine him and Charles Bronson Jr.? Oh, for goodness sake.
You said the word stimulus and stimuli a couple times now. Can you explain to the jury when you use that word specifically what you mean?
Well, for us, and especially in an active shooter situation, things change based on your stimulus. If you have gunshots that are actually actively going off, we're trained to go towards the sound of gunfire. So in our training, if the gun's going off and a shot is being banged, people are dying.
It's the most white
That's the
trash
way
thing.
You have to think about it as a police officer. If that gun's going off, someone's dying, especially on a school campus, because active shooters are so prevalent nowadays. So that
Can I help
resorts
you?
back to your training. So that's really what I mean by the active stimulus. When there is no active,
Okay, that's
look at things. Where do I do? What do I want to do? Where do I go? Things like that. And I'm talking as an officer that would be armed and working towards that situation. You may move things, but when you have active stimulation of gunfire, we're trained in our single officer response is to move towards the sound of gunfire.
That day, you obviously weren't in your uniform with a firearm. You moved towards the sound of gunfire. Explain what happened when you came across Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, it confirmed everything, my worst nightmare. I was I knew that basically when I
all right. Chad is demanding your father's fail-safe system for scratch off fortune.
Well, he checks online. You can see like which rewards or how much money has been given out already. You check the odds. So like if all the high dollar prizes have been given out on a scratcher, then he doesn't do it. But he also like goes to different gas stations, or if he's on we went on vacation, he bought a bunch of scratchers up north. Usually makes a few hundred.
Cool. Yeah, that's a lot of mathing for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and I have to math. No thanks.
Yeah.
I'll stick with my birthday like everyone else.
talk to Coach Bonner, but even more to the fact when you actually are physically see it and see a child, I think Kyle was at the time, I think he was 14 years old, and you see a 14-year-old kid with part of his, leg leg blown off from an AR-15. It's got,
For the love of all that is holy, I understand it's a big, scary AR-15. You get
Yeah.
the same from a hand
Well,
force multiplier.
well, for the most part, yes. AR-15s, like those guns, I think are a lot more, or not a lot, but more powerful. So they can go through like body armor, but it's basically a gun is a gun.
Yeah, that's my kind of thing. I know it's fun to use the word, but it just seems a little. When the mainstream media starts using it a lot, I am full Dale Gribble, and I am like,
No, I'm
no,
done.
I am unknowable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a weird face.
it
I thought I
changes your
pushed play,
mindset.
and I didn't.
So again, like I said, not being armed and not, my main thing is to get Kyle to help. So I knew, based on where I was coming from back,
And I'm gonna ask you.
yeah.
That way we can
Okay,
resolve
you guys have
it.
to see. He has marked all over this map, and they have to
I'm
redo the
sorry.
map.
Seriously?
Got it.
He does it several times
So.
because he's telling you all about
Yeah.
mom and them.
So I knew, and I'll go back to the pencil, I knew back in this area here, which is our offices.
I love
for
this
coach's
guy.
office, that there was a parent and Coach Fitzgerald, who was the baseball coach in there. I knew there were two people in there. I knew we had a first aid kit. So my thought process is I got to get Kyle somewhere where I can get treatment onto his leg and get him medical treatment as fast as I can. So we were standing right in this area here. As we're standing there, another barrage of gunfire goes off.
And when you're standing there, is that barrage of gunfire clearly audible?
Yes.
And at that point, did you have any doubts the direction that they were coming?
No, I knew it was coming from somewhere, which would be my estimation was it was somewhere in the area of the 12 and 13 building, somewhere in that area here. As I said in my deposition, I didn't know if it was.
So again, he doesn't even know. I mean, even having Kyle, the injured student, saying I was on the third floor. I mean, Crazy Eyes could have moved in that time.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a radio, you'll find out at this point. So regardless of if he, say, knew exactly where said person was, he could not tell anyone. If only there was an exchange program.
If only.
I believe it's Heinrich.
Oh boy. He's a Nazi. Think
Why
that's
are you
German?
saying? Well, he's got my complexion, but that could be a Scottish thing too.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. Who knows? You can never tell. I've got like all the things, and my mom lied to me half the time. And okay, true story. My mother tells me and my brother, who looks more Scandinavian than I do, if that's possible, that we have Cherokee ancestry. And I said, which Cherokee nation in Finland do we come from? She
He
never
related
liked
to
that
Elizabeth
joke.
Warren.
I know, that's what I said. I was like, I can't even go out into the sun. Do we want to talk about that? It's
My
like,
cousin, it was adopted, and she's actually Indian.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Inside, outside, any of that information. I didn't have the visual stimulation of, muzzle flash or anything like that.
Stop
But
saying stimulation, please.
By the way, we were standing out here and I end up running this way with Kyle, and the shots going off, you could almost feel the percussion and the reverberation of the gunshots bouncing off the buildings and stuff like that. Like I said, I wasn't able to say exactly, okay, I couldn't tell you that it's on that.
I believe it comes later in this testimony that he finds a phone or he has a phone. I'm not quite sure because it's not very clear and he talks a lot. I mean, honest to goodness, the way I take notes, it took me about an hour and a half to get even a little bit through with this guy.
Just imagine the jury taking notes.
Just imagine the court reporter. Court reporter's like when the cash register runs out of that
Yeah.
paper. He's like 8 rolls for this guy.
She just kills herself during lunch. Can't take any more of it.
Gosh, what was it on Airplane where there's just a line of people
Oh, yeah.
to 2023 inappropriately help a hysterical woman.
Yes. By punching her.
Yes. Or the nun that speaks jive, which
Oh, yeah. Or I think it was an old woman. Or was it a nun?
it was a nun.
Okay.
Best movie ever. If you're having a bad day or if this trial bums you out, either watch Airplane or honest to God, watch people react to Ram Jam's Black Betty. Because the music video was made for like $200. Most of that was spent on the herb
Really?
and the barbecue in the backyard. But listening to people react to it will just make your day.
Was on the 3rd floor, shooting out the windows like we found out at a later date. But I could tell you it was coming from somewhere in that area. It could have been
That's a good
anywhere. I
idea.
wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known that.
And Scott is, I mean, the ricochet or the audios had to be so
Because I was tending to
terrible.
Kyle. And
Yeah.
yeah. And so Kyle, again, he's still crying.
She's like,
screaming,
"Sir, I
wants,
need to ask a question."
asking to get a hold of his mom.
Sir, please let me be a lawyer.
We run up this way.
And he's gonna have to clear that again.
About here. When I get to here is the first time that I see a police officer, the deputy sheriff. He was standing on the outside. I don't know if you can move
It's
this.
just
down
not
a
like the
bit,
Jody Arias house diagram.
standing on the outside of the fence.
So this particular officer that he's talking about is standing behind his car in the parking lot. So why they're, not doing anything. I mean, I don't know if he's making a perimeter or what have you, and I understand that the video of him not moving for 40 minutes is
4 minutes or
40.
oh,
So
was
he
it that
stays in that, he stays in that alcove for 40 minutes.
one? Okay.
But I believe that it was 20 minutes after the last sound of gunfire before even the SWAT team was into the building. Oh,
Wow.
look, I will have to have
That's amazing.
I will have to have some very kind person create a Discord for me if they want, and we can do a watch party, but
I'll help you set it up.
awesome. Mr. Mo is like, what are your goals for this channel? And I was like, honestly, and he shouldn't have asked that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, okay, I would love to be big enough to have my own personal editor and to be able to write off every single Sailor Moon thing that I really want to buy.
There you go.
And he was like, I meant numbers. I was like, oh, well, I don't know. Like enough to do that.
Yeah. I just want to write stuff off on taxes.
I was like, there's really expensive Sailor Moon stuff. Yeah, he's unfortunately lost the argument on whether our master bedroom will be Sailor Moon and Futurama decorated. Yes. Oh yeah. Or the jerk. Every time, I know this is a whole tangent of a tangent, but every time I go to our particular church, I have kind of flashbacks of Steve Martin in the front because our church may or may not have ever been in the zip code of Rhythm. We've never been there. We try real hard, but we just don't have it.
Thought that counts.
Or that or Forrest Gump at Bubba's church at the end. This is why I wear rubber sole shoes to church, because I have these thoughts during church time.
Yeah, so he would have been out somewhere out on the outside of this fence here. Somewhere,
Oh.
I'm sorry. getting ahead of myself, but
Good
somewhere
idea.
outside there, and he was standing behind his car back there. As I'm coming down through this thing, I'm yelling to him that it's active shooter, and that I had a gunshot victim.
Now, at that time that you encountered that police officer, you didn't have a radio on?
No.
Okay, so did you know why that police officer was at least 500 feet back?
No, I had no idea.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. So I yell at him, tell him that, I have a gunshot victim, that it is an active shooter situation. We make eye contact, so I know he hears me. I know he sees me. Again, I don't have a radio. I do find out later that he does put it out over the radio that we have a gunshot victim by the football field. And that was the information that I gave him. So as we do that, I'm sorry from there, we continue all the way down around back into this door here. I get Kyle into the locker room area. I quickly do a pressure dressing on his foot. I asked him a couple questions. He told me a description of the shooter. Kyle is an avid airsoft gun person. I don't know if you guys know what airsoft is, but they shoot little pellets.
It's
my
been 10
God.
minutes since she's asked a question. I mean, he is telling the story, so it is fine. I mean,
Yes.
for what they want him, but
It's still,
but the defense isn't objecting, and I think they're right to do that because this guy is likable and
yeah. And it doesn't really hurt him what he's saying.
no,
least-
because
Not yet.
yeah, it's just he's just underlying the chaos that was
Yeah.
there.
Which helps them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Little they're not BBs, but they're white pellets, and they have places where you can
Racist.
go, and it's like kind of like a paintball type thing. So he plays that. So he has a familiarization with weapons and things like that because the weapons kind of look
Well, at least he didn't say he plays Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So
Poor Kyle.
real, but they're not real. They're not real firearms, but they look real. So he was able to tell
wait, airsoft accoutrement are not real. I have a whole lot
I
of
guess-
Amazon to take back.
I guess not real guns theoretically, but
Yeah, I mean, I understand what he's trying to say, but it's just the way he said it. Like, well, now they're not real. And I was like, well, I figured that's why they put airsoft in front of it
yeah,
to
with a
distinguish themselves.
big orange tip. Phrasing.
Yes.
me that the guy was a male. He was what he said at that time. Was
Obviously.
black mask, wearing I think black pants, black vest, and had an AR-15, and that he was shot on the 3rd floor, and that multiple people were shot. That's basically the information he gave to me. Learning that information, I called our dispatch. I don't have a recollection of
Okay, so he must have had his phone in his pocket. I know you all are going to be shocked, but trying to do the notes for this guy when I almost take notes like the court reporter, so I will, be typing every sentence down just because that's how I take notes. And taking notes for this particular gentleman was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
whether I called 911 or our non-emergency number. I think I later found out that I actually called our non-emergency number, which I don't know why I did, but it just happened that way. But I talked with one of
Yes,
our-
he is
our
5 of the
dispatch
11
supervisors
pages.
answer the phone, Pat Thurman. Gave him the information over the phone at the time, and I thought everything was fine. Comes out later, when I went back to write my report, I asked to get that audio taping of that thing. Well, unbeknownst to me, my call dropped in the middle of the call. So obviously with that many people coming.
Now-
I have T-Mobile and they're not very reliable in this area. I don't know. Maybe I should switch to Verizon.
Well, no, this actually bolsters the defense because
Yeah.
Yippee lawyer said that, the radios had gone out. So if this particular officer who is, has the knowledge of where the active person would be, and he still can't get it disseminated, and there was part of the Jake Tapper interview that I was forced to watch with Scott Israel, who was this man has a hate eggplant for the defense attorney does.
Yeah.
He was excoriated because the radio, systems and that kind of thing were beyond screwed up during this day.
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple levels of failure here.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it is.
Bamboo. Stop it. Thank you.
He's like, but I just want to sniff your hair just a tiny bit.
In the area, everybody on their cell phones. My cell phone dropped without me knowing that most of the information didn't even get to our people. So,
As you're in that room, you rendered aid to Kyle.
Mhm.
Did you take precautions to try and stop the bleeding?
yeah, I did a compression. We had a bunch of ace bandages and thing. I basically packed the wound as much as I could, did a full compression bandage on it. Like I said, I was talking, he was trying to get a hold of his parents on the cell phone.
Now, is that typical of what you would want to do to a gunshot wound victim?
Yeah, because with gunshot victims, the most dangerous thing with gunshot victims is bleeding.
Yeah, obviously.
Get to a gunshot wound victim quickly in order to stop.
Very time is of the essence with
I guess they
gunshot
got to
victims.
explain it. But
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it's like those pedantic questions that, like, well, how did you know the person was not alive? Was it possibly the head in the pot? And then they have to. That's where I wish we were more like Broken Baker says that his court system is like they just get up to the point and
Yeah.
sit down. This guy would die. He'd be like, I don't. What?
Yeah, foundation is kind of irritating. I mean, I get why it's done, but it's just certain
That is
times.
why I will always be pre-law and never full law because foundation would be, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm out. Can we get to the fun stuff?
Yeah. Jody Arias picked.
Well, love is love this month.
Exactly.
By the
Can't
stop
wait for
the bleeding,
July.
Stop the bleeding or at least slow it down.
I don't even know whether it stopped or not. I mean, we just, like I said, I packed everything we had as far as gauze and bandage and stuff. And like I said, we got 2 big ace bandages. I wrapped those thing, and within, I don't even know, within seconds, maybe minutes, there was EMS there. So they were able to take over that aspect of Kyle.
And in response to what Kyle had told you, did you know that there were additional gunshot wound victims inside that building?
Yes.
And was it important to get them aid to their
Yes.
wounds as well? So what do you do next?
After I made the phone call to
That
our
doesn't
police
seem to
department,
make
I actually
sense.
called my wife to find out if they were okay, which they were. They were sheltered in a building. So once I found that out, once I found that out, I went outside. When I went outside, I met who actually is our chief now, deputy. At the time, he was a captain. Now he's our chief of police, which is Brad McKeon. Brad McKeon at the time was
He started in
was a,
1975.
SWAT commander.
Worked his way up.
Our SWAT team.
Pretty much.
He had pulled up basically right here into this area here. His car, his
Yes,
exposition
please.
parked there.
So this is a huge huge case, and I have found a whiteboard on Marketplace. So I would love to get it so I can put pictures and stuff up and have the campus.
Yeah.
And have the campus kind of up so we can kind of see where things are placed, because I am terrible at remembering things. I might need to have someone make me like a Lego building things.
I get it.
And this is where I believe he has to erase the board again.
He had a SWAT vest and an extra handgun.
I did not know
So,
that.
I grabbed the SWAT vest and the extra handgun, and then we took off back towards the area of Building 12. I told him exactly. I knew where we were going because based on the information that Kyle had given us, all that stuff that had turned into Building 12. I'm very familiar with the school. I spent a lot of time there, so I knew exactly where to go. So basically, we went out this thing back through here, back up along to here. We checked, and as we're going, we're clearing because you don't know if we have.
I mean, again, he is telling this story, and I have to. I mean, this is a huge campus, and the
Yeah.
state in their openings showed these little projections. So you kind of think, well, okay, that is not tough. Then the defense showed the big giant poster board, and you kind of got a better idea, especially with, I don't know if they were using the security camera to pan across the length of the entire building.
Yeah.
Haven't had at this time. We haven't had any more active stimulation. There's no more gunshots. There's no more, active stimulation.
Could you stop being
What
stimulated,
actually
sir?
could be, or that people are being shot or anything at this point. So it's unknown exactly where this suspect is. He could be, he or they could be anywhere. You don't have that information. So
You don't know how you don't know their pronouns.
Check the shed, and we checked over towards this area, but then we ended up on the corner, right here on the corner of Building 13. When we came around the corner of Building 13, Coach Feiss was laying right here, right outside the door of the stairwell. We started to go to check him, but there was a deputy, I'm not sure of the name, I think it might be Deputy Goolsby.
This man knows everybody in like Parkland, Florida. He's like, so when my people would hear that my husband was from the Guard, they would say, like, oh, does he know so and so? And I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, there's different units, and they're like, no, so and so, he works down there. And I'm like, I don't think you understand that the base is somewhat large.
Yeah.
So I just kind of smile and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. It's just funny, especially like if you went to high school in a certain year, and I was the Daria of high school. I was like, when is it over? And
Same.
I would like to get out of this with as little emotional damage as possible.
It's little effort for me.
Yeah. So it was just hilarious that people were like, my friend went here. She was on the baseball team. I'm like, I'm going to stop you right there.
I didn't even go to graduation.
I didn't want to, but my mom wanted me to go.
My mom tried to make me, and I was just like, nope, I'm done. They ended up mailing me my diploma like a year later. I never even picked it up.
I was still afraid of my mother, so.
Fair.
That's why she will never know my streams.
On this corner right here, he was providing outside security, outside coverage of that area. There was already.
I don't.
Okay. Find out just momentarily.
Whoever did the Madden comment, so he was going over here, but then he got blocked, and then he did a round thing with the ball thing. Look. Y'all, my mom is like one of the biggest football freaks ever.
Right.
And I still haven't learned why they can't just tackle the person before he gets the ball. It seems like it would end the sport much quicker. But
to go to check and see if he was deceased.
Can I ask you to clear the screen one more time?
Sure can. Sure.
She's like, if I could just ask you a question. Oh, yeah, he has to raise it again. I mean, this is why I love you guys, chat. This is why I really do love the chat, because this is such a heavy trial. And I know I have like terribly messed up sense of humor. So it's always good when I can find other people that are like, no, we deal with our trauma through laughter.
It really concerns me that you and I are like laughing together. It says a lot about you. I'm so screwed up.
Yeah, we're all screwed up.
Yeah.
I know, I feel like it's gonna be red flag or whatever they do, penalty, something or other, go to the
I
box.
don't know.
No.
I only know baseball.
I Pac-Man. See, if I had, s well, computering skills, I'd make little things like that, like David
Alright.
does, but I don't.
So we walk up and we are stationed right here on the corner of Building 13. Coach Weiss is laying on his back right outside of the door that opens out of the stairwell.
And at this point, you don't know whether there's still an active shooter inside the 1200
No.
building, correct?
No, we didn't even know there was people inside the building at the time. We didn't know that until we started to go across this thing. We were going, the plan, me and Chief McKeon now, our plan was gonna go into the building.
Now,
But go ahead.
knowing that you have seen a
First time in his
shooter
life he said
shot,
that.
there's an active shooter on campus, why are you entering that building?
Because that's the last place that we had information where that subject was. That's where we still believed he possibly could be.
To where I wanted to put in my notes, well, we were playing hide and seek, and we figured the suitcase was up there. 1 second. It, Salvador, if you can play on for me for a minute.
That point, based on the information that I had.
Okay, and what happens next?
We start to go out across, the officer Goolsby, who's standing over here, reaches out to us, calls out to us, basically says, don't check him, we've already checked him, he's deceased. We then move right back to where we were, and we look up and you can see the third floor windows that were shot out from the third floor. Me and Chief McKeon look at each other and like, this isn't a really good place for us. We're kind of out in the open here. We don't want to be here. So we walked across this way, well, jogged, whatever, ran across this way. And we paired up with Deputy Goolsby, myself, and Officer McKeon, Chief McKeon. And we stayed in this particular position right here and covered this backside of the building. Reason we didn't go inside is what we were told by Deputy Goolsby is that there were already 2 teams inside. We didn't think there would be, we thought that would be, we didn't know if they had already actively started to search the school. We didn't know what was going on. So we didn't want to put ourselves in a position where we open a door and you're friendly fire or anything like that. So we decided that the best case for us would be let the people that are already inside the building, there's supposedly already 2 teams in there, go ahead and search that building and we'll provide cover on the outside.
What is friendly fire?
Officer versus officer. So, I mean, obviously with me, I can share that, when I came around this corner here on this, south side, Deputy Goolsby actually, didn't know if I was a police officer or not, because all he saw was a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and a vest, even though our vests do say police on them, even our SWATs do. But, you know, it's you look for the guy in the uniform, you look for the guy in things. So when he saw somebody that wasn't wearing a uniform, he automatically like, whoa, what's that? So that would be a case of friendly fire. So, so we decided that we're going to go ahead and stay, on the outside of that building. And like I said, provide cover, from there.
And were there other officers inside?
Yes, there were.
I was able to finish keto, you know, the potato and sausage soup that you get from Olive Garden.
Yeah.
So if you, well, want to have less joy in your soul and you want to make it keto, you use cauliflower instead of the potatoes.
Yeah.
So I was able to finish that, get a drink, and do like 5 other things while he's still been.
I think he's only answered
Oh,
2
wait.
questions.
Ted Kaczynski died?
Oh, yeah. Poor guy.
You know, of all of the famous unalivers, he was the one I felt most akin to, except for the whole like not bathing thing, but
Really?
just a cabin in the woods. I was
Mm.
like, you know, he had a point.
I mean, I hate the government too.
And well, I mean, they did kind of MK Ultra him for a
Yeah.
long time. They took a fairly unstable, you know, antisocial person and tortured him.
Yeah.
It's always great.
Yeah, I imagine
From
what would
what
happen
I
if they did that to me.
I did not put you on a list. And for the federal agent who has to watch this, I'm
I'm-
very sorry. And my name is Rusty Shackelford. It's a German, it's an old family name.
But I don't know how many, but there were two teams. We stayed in that position for quite some time. They were trying to gather information from the video, which they were watching, I guess, which was not in real time, but they were getting information where they thought he was upstairs. I didn't have a radio, so I wasn't privy to a lot of the information that was going on, that was going back and forth. Most of our guys wear earpieces, so it's not broadcasted out thing. We stayed there until I believe, I want to say it was two Bearcats showed up from the sheriff's office and SWAT teams, and then they entered.
Listen, I was a very strange child. I had a deep and abiding crush on Alex Trebek because he knew all of the answers. I'm not saying I'm a normal person, okay? I have never claimed that.
They entered with the teams that were already in there. We stayed there until it was determined that the suspect, Nicholas Cruz, was not in the building, and that the video that we're getting was not real time. So at that point,
Babu is like, I'm just going to start talking
one
too.
of our
I was junior.
officers, which
Oh.
I feel comfortable, obviously working canine. I feel comfortable working along with the canine officer.
Sorry, I didn't know the
So I
mic
met up
picked
with
it up.
him, and then
Oh, no,
we
you're
started,
fine. You hear my kids and
systematically
people
clearing-
yelling and
and I'm gonna just thing, we came over down
random,
here and we
all the things.
systematically started to clear this area over here with the dog until we were told by the sheriff's office to go ahead and put their dog up because they wanted a coordinated command of where everybody was. So they asked us to stop searching so that we could get a coordinated, so you just didn't have officers going everywhere and not knowing where people were and what was done and what wasn't done. So they asked us to put the dog up until we could get a coordinated response to how we were going to clear this whole entire area as a team together.
Explain for the members of the jury what the difference is between when it's appropriate to systematically clear and take your time and when you have to move towards the sound of gunfire.
Yeah, it is based off of that. It's based off the sound of gunfire
Same.
situation.
Wait.
Which is
Actually, no, because
No.
if I have that new talk to text headset, I'm just
Boy.
saying. The
Be very handy.
well, no, the your subject matter is my jurisdiction. The sovereign citizen romance between Letitia Stalk and Daryl Brooks may come to a store near you or a hellscape. I mean, it really depends.
Or do a Matthew Harris manifesto, unbreaded.
You know, I will say comparatively, my sanity is greater than his, which is not something I can always say.
It's a shame he was found not fit to stand trial.
Could you imagine his testimony?
No.
Dear
Oh,
Lord.
God. I was
Listen,
so looking
I'm just-
forward to it.
I'm just saying, if we have to deal with the 2024,
No, she's
give me
not
any
Muslim. Sorry.
damn it, Salvador.
Sorry.
It's not even 2 hours in.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
I don't live in, what is it, Deerfield, Michigan, so
Yeah.
we're good. Otherwise,
No, we're getting
I've
along
always-
with them now. Conservatives. Against the whole pride
this
thing.
the strange bedfellows that this particular time continuum has
I
made,
know.
which is why I am voting, and I encourage all of you to vote Giant Asteroid for president
Yes.
2024.
is a active killer situation, active shooter situation. Like I said, our training for single purpose response is to go towards the sound of gunfire. When that stops, then you can stop. But when that gunfire is going off, you
Those
have to
two in a
know that
cell.
Every time that trigger is being pulled, that someone's life could be lost. And that's why we move towards the sound of gunfire.
Would you ever systematically clear?
Chandler Halderson and Daryl Brooks are at the same prison. So
No,
Daryl Brooks can help him with his appeal.
No, I've decided. So Joel Guy Jr. ticked me off to no end of degrees. And I basically decided that there was something worse in his life than Sharknado. And that would be to put him in a cell with Daryl Brooks, because Daryl cannot stop talking and Joel just wanted to be left alone. So that would be, I believe, I don't believe that it would get you sent to the Geneva, human rights court, but it's
Yeah.
just shy of psychological
Torture.
destruction. So I'm kind of okay.
Like what they did at Guantanamo Bay.
Hey, Yanni was popular with some people.
Hmm.
Yes, I am. Asteroid B96 is only 3 million years old, so currently the young front runner with less gravitational pull than Chris Christie.
Yeah, he's gonna run. He's never run twice in
I
his
don't know how
life.
you want to call it systematically. You're still going to move tactically. I mean, you're not going to be full out running down a thing. You're still, you're not going into it. You don't want to go in. You still want to be able to help people. You don't want to die in a situation on the way. Look, we all put our lives on the line. We understand
No.
what could possibly
Dying,
happen.
not an
But
option.
you
Yeah, I don't want to
move
die either.
Swiftly.
Words of wisdom.
Oh my gosh, he just made his own t-shirt like dying is not an option. The Officer Jeff story, part 1, subsection B. Be a whole daggone trilogy of trilogies just to get to one story.
It'd be like if a liberal made a meme on a t-shirt.
If you have to explain the joke that hard, it's just not funny.
And as tactically as you can towards the sound of gunfire. So you never want to move fast enough that you can't, take a shot or anything like that. So you would move systematically, and I guess that would be the word, but you're going to move quickly. If that is clear, I guess I understand that.
Now,
No, please elaborate further.
when you start to.
You didn't
clear,
make it
back
very
up to
clear.
the K9
Yeah.
officer, correct? Okay, so I've actually.
Yeah, so we can erase this. So when once they were told to go back to the thing, they were still clearing people out of the 13 building and the 12 building. So what I assisted in is I just assisted in the people coming out of the 12 or 1300 building, and then we were directing them through the parking lot out to Holmberg and Cold Springs Drive, or up there, I guess it's Pine Island. So we were working with people. So I was assisting in that until we got everybody cleared out of the school.
So, Ms. Combs, before you start, you subject line, we're going to press pause on the examination.
The judge is like, we're ending for today, so let me stop that screen. So I swear to God, it's gonna take. I've not even gone to day 2 yet, and I'm like, what in the actual? So this should be day 2. Bigger eyes and big in. All right, let's see if
Hi,
we get.
Junior.
He says, "I love you, people." Okay. Oh. His hair it's receding. It's just receding, sir. Just,
Yeah.
decide if you're going to go bald or skull it and give it. He does. So was it Excited Utterance and I decided that he's just oversaturated. Well, and it looks like Peterson has done his hair too. Do lawyers often end up starting looking like their clients, or clients? Is it like people that look like their dogs and
Yeah.
stuff? We're gonna need to ask Nicholas.
Well, Jodi Arias and her lawyer do look a lot alike. I was thinking today.
Well, that's what I figured. It is how they are going to beat the rap, because when they
Mm.
say it's the person over there, they could be talking about her lawyer.
Oh, that would be a great lawyer trick.
I would. I'd be like, Your Honor, they have never actually,
Identified my client.
identified my client. We win this case. I am a giant space chicken. If you watch Futurama, you know.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yep, us people never run things.
Half my cabinets are empty for the cats to go into.
My cats like to open cabinets too.
Jurors entering.
Oh, so this is where they got the jurors' feet, because one job, court TV or Law and Crime. I don't
Judges
know
don't
if
like
it's
that. It's probably court TV.
Yeah.
There's a full feed, and usually court TV is assigned it.
yeah, whoever's done the camera work thus far has been kind of bad at it, so I don't
Yeah.
understand. But here's your feet footage.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back.
Yeah, I know Bruce Schroeder during the Rittenhouse trial got really pissed off at court TV because they showed something they shouldn't
Ladies and
have.
gentlemen, welcome back. Come on in. Once
Who
you're back
wears
in
a
those same
hoodie
seats, you may
in
be
June
seated.
though? I'm gonna need.
Right, all the parties.
That's the jury?
Ladies and
It
gentlemen,
looks
those of
like
you that are using the notepad,
Yeah.
I'll give you a moment to get the notepads back down.
I cannot believe
Yeah, it's got to be. What?
who is not yelling at this asshole's. I mean, at this
I
person.
mean, he didn't show their head, but he
But
showed their
no,
body.
I mean, yeah, I mean, approximately the racial makeup, the male to female makeup, approximately. I'm not going to assume anyone's anything, but I mean, that's upsetting. Well, probably. I mean, but still, it's Florida. Oh, wait, you know what? I remember. So when I believe like 15 years ago, I went to Florida for Christmas with my girls, and it must have been 50 degrees out. So I was wearing like a t-shirt, and everyone else had winter coats and like a little hat. And I was like, what is wrong with you people? This is like tank top weather.
I know. That's what it's so funny in Arizona in the winter. Everybody's like bundled up, and it's like 60 degrees, 50 degrees maybe. And I'm just, why are you wearing jackets? It's nice out.
Aw. Well, at least it's it's an easy name to remember. I still can't. It says juror. You are a dinglebutt.
yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay, so I totally picked wrong because I thought this particular person in the black hoodie was a man until I saw the nail. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, you really can't tell anymore.
No, but apparently my radar is
Friends,
just
welcome
all
back.
the wrong.
I hope you had a nice night last night. When we recessed the
I
trial
cannot
yesterday, we were in the
believe
middle of the
this.
direct examination of the witness. We're going to pick it up right at that point.
Someone
The
is yelling
witness
in his
on the
ear now,
stand
like,
and under oath. State
I know you don't
we're
want to
ready.
listen to
You may
Talkie
proceed.
Man, but
I would not want to piss off this judge. Although I guess he hasn't been too bad. But
well, my guess is he won't know about it until the next day. So I don't know if he made anything about it.
yeah, behind the scenes.
And my guess is the amount of money that the state has put into this, they would not let them, call a mistrial regardless.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, we worked on this yesterday. If I do this, stop.
Jane, first witness.
Yeah. Wonder if they had a come to
Sergeant,
Jesus
I'm
meeting
trying to
after the
listen to
trial
Mark as
yesterday.
state, you recognize this?
Yes,
Is that a photograph of you?
yes.
At this time, the state moves into evidence what's been pre-marked as state's I.
I'll be right back.
No problem.
State's I as state's none.
Any objection? None at all. Without objection, state's eye for identification will now be in evidence. That is state's exhibit 9.
I guess not. It's someone's nephew down there doing the camera work, I
There's
guess.
something on the screen? Yeah, is there something on the?
I'm sure it is.
I like when
Tells us test button.
Oh, okay.
I bet not.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Sorry, can you describe for us what we're looking at in this photograph?
Yes, that's when I met up with,
That is his action figure pose. I don't care what we need to find a way to make this man a 3D printed action figure of himself, because he actually did a pretty good job being heroic that day, as much as we make fun of his talking.
Officer Coker. He's one of our former canine handlers. That was after I returned to the building with Chief McKeon, and they determined that Nicholas Cruz was no longer in the building. I linked up with Officer Coker, and that's when we started to search the areas, like I said, in the west, I guess would be the southwest area of the school.
Now, before you had determined that Nicholas Cruz was no longer in the building, is this what you were wearing when you were attempting to move closer to the 1200 building when he may have still been inside?
Yes,
And can you describe for us, is this what you were wearing when you were, initially you did not have this vest on, correct?
correct. I didn't have the vest on, nor did I have the gloves or the firearm.
Okay, and why did you place these items on?
Obviously, we thought the shooter was still at the school or inside the building. So that's why we were going back. He had not been caught yet.
Your Honor, permission to publish what is already in evidence as states 6-2, F2, or I don't know what letter it was.
It states.
Guys, I believe from my notes, and let me look at them, but I believe states 6 is a recording. Okay, it's a recording of dispatch audio linked to surveillance footage. So I believe you will hear, some of the, you might hear some of the talking, you might hear officers encountering, hurt or passed away children, people like that. So I am giving you a forewarning that it looks like it is just a bunch of footage that has possibly been linked to dispatch audio. So just to let you know.
6 is the 13 USB drive.
Yes.
Which one?
Number 2,
You want to do F2?
yes.
Is this something that the screens need to be turned off? No. No, you're all right. Go ahead. You may.
Oh. No problem. That's why I am doing this as kind of a recap weekly or bi-weekly. I haven't quite decided. But I knew it was going to be full of a lot of really hard stuff to listen to. So I wanted to be able to help you guys, maybe not have to go through it if you didn't want to, because it does look like they are basically just doing a retrial of Nicholas Cruz. And I figured, maybe people don't want to redo that. Now, I know that the defense has objected a lot to many of the audio recordings and things being entered in, because the state kind of deceptively starts when with scenes and things that are from the first floor,
Mm.
which is before he even got there, for feels, pretty much. Are you there,
Yeah.
Salvador?
Yeah.
I was just making sure I wasn't talking like the
No,
witness. If I lapse into monologuing, let me know.
No, sorry, I was looking at my phone.
Oh, you're fine. I was just letting you know that it seems like the state is going a lot with feels.
Yeah.
So it will probably be bi-weekly just because this is supposed to be 3 months long, and it seems like a lot of this is going to be basic rehash of that. So
Pointless.
I will definitely have timestamps should you want to go back and rewatch anything that's not like the little recap that I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So that on days, okay, witness 1 at so and so a time to so and so a time, they're doing this. So that's why it's taking a little longer to do these notes.
Sure. I do wonder if he'll testify.
I feel like he almost has to, almost like a self-defense
Yeah,
case.
because it goes to his state of mind.
Yeah, because to be very honest with you, I mean, if his radio wasn't working, and we can prove that, we can prove that, all of the radios from the different departments weren't coordinating.
Yeah.
I mean, he very much could have thought, okay, I haven't heard anything. There's still a sniper, even though I haven't heard anything, or it looks bad. I'm not going to lie.
Sure.
On a
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, and Scott Israel basically, did in fact just call him out of his name on Jake Tapper. So, but I don't think he goes from being an exemplary officer for 19 years to just hanging out in an alcove,
Yeah.
During that day without reason.
Yeah, it's just Cross, though, is going to be he has to be very calm because he's going to be called a coward. And if he's messed up about this incident, which I think he is, it's going to be very easy to rattle.
Yeah. Now, I will say he probably will have had, if his defense attorney, because his defense attorney is hitting all of the right points to really highlight things. If I were his defense attorney, I would have him crossed many times by, like, kind of the Rittenhouse. You could tell that he had been prepared.
Corey Schroffesy did the cross.
Yeah. So, he was, I think he's going to be trained, and I think he's a police officer. So I think you'll get some really genuine emotion.
Yeah.
And then hopefully he can hold it together on cross.
Yeah. I mean, it's 50-50, I guess.
It is, but I think he needs to testify.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but
it looks bad. And if you don't, I mean, it shouldn't be held against you, but it can be.
Yeah. Though I hope that his attorney at the end really focuses in on how this makes no legal sense, basically.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand how this even got to trial.
Media narrative, prosecutor wants to make a name for himself.
Well, but the judge has to agree that the charge of child neglect makes sense legally.
Yeah. The judge can always be appealed. They don't like to really throw cases out before it goes to trial.
Well, I understand, but it would seem like this, I don't know, we need to get a legally person in.
Yeah. I'd have to take a look at the jury instructions and try and figure it out. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
I love how the deputy's
How
checking
many phones
his
does he
phone.
have?
Well, I think that's a remote.
Oh, okay.
Does he have shock shackles? I need this in my life. They're like, oh, sir, that haircut means danger in these times. And I love that they suck as much as I do with tech. They're like, it's going to take us about 5 minutes to fire up old Betsy over here.
Windows 98.
It's hard because you want to fast forward, but you can't tell when they start playing something because in other trials, good cameramen kind of go back to. I make no comments. David's like, so how did the stream go? And I was like, we were good and we stayed on topic. No one talked about furries whatsoever
Yes.
or bronies.
Start with Microsoft Defender.
No problem.
Sergeant, when you see yourself on the screen, will you please identify yourself?
Yeah, I can see myself out in the middle of the baseball field with the fire hose watering the infield.
Is that on what corner of the screen?
I'm sorry, like the top, I guess, top center.
Okay, I guess I can't see him.
At this point, this is when you're still manicuring the field.
Yep.
Manicure.
Watering
weird.
the clay, I don't know.
Sergeant, those students running, is that when you?
I don't believe I saw him at the time. Because obviously I'm still, I don't recall anybody.
But I know they're moms and they make wonderful pecan tasties. Have you ever had a pecan tasty? I'm telling you what. He is the boomhauer, only you understand him.
Yes. I'll get you the recipe. It's to die for.
David's like, I have a feeling I need to put an advisory on today's stream. I would just put it straight to Rumble, sir.
Yeah, I kind of messed up before the 2-hour mark.
It is what it is.
Sorry.
Prior to that.
Oh, okay. Now I can see the hose.
Ooh, hose?
Well, up in this
Oh, okay.
general.
Oh,
Because,
yeah,
I was
see.
like, what are you talking? I don't see you at all. There's a golf cart.
That was Elliot Bonner, the security specialist. At
He's a good guy. He's worked there for 5 years. I knew his brother.
God love him. He just knows every single person in the entire state of Florida.
Drop the hose. And I should be showing up here.
I only did bad things on Nicholas's stream.
Is that
Good
MLS
so
law was
far.
not affiliated.
Correct. Security monitor, I think.
security
is
monitor?
what he is.
He's pretty good at backward driving.
Is he backward
And
driving?
Mr. Bonners, who tells you that? Aaron
Yeah,
Price-
like I said, I have a very,
Oh,
very,
yeah,
very
he
quick,
is.
conversation with him. And, basically yelling at each other, and he takes off. And
Be
continues.
funny if
Holy
they golf-
crapola. He, in fact, did have a short effing conversation. What
It's
what
possible.
timestamp is this? It's 2:14. Although, is he wearing a straw hat?
Of course.
Sir, we need some questions
So
answered.
this is when I come around the corner and I actually walk into the parking lot. Just to the left is where that gate is that enters into it's like the senior, there's some faculty parking there, but there's also a senior parking lot. And that's where I encounter Kyle.
Okay, so you guys, just another, warning. This is where he is going to come upon a injured student. I don't know how much they're going to show, but he does, it's Parkland, y'all. I can't church it up.
See, there's a large group of people already there. There's a
The
bunch of
top
kids.
left corner of the screen.
Yes, the left corner. There's a bunch of kids there, and you can see us, when the gunshots start again is when everybody starts to flee. At that point is where I'm taking Kyle along the backside of those cars out
Okay, so
around
this
the
is-
football field back to where I originally started, back at the baseball field.
And at that point, is there any doubt in your mind that you're hearing gunshots?
No.
Sergeant, do you know who Scott Peterson is?
Yes,
Did you know him prior to this date?
yes. Like I said before, my wife worked at the school.
Why? That was a loaded damn question, ma'am. You just had to ask. Every time I hear Scott Peterson, I think California.
I know.
And then I, of course, also go to the Office Space, like, screw that. I was Michael Bolton before he got big. F that guy. So you like, your name is Michael Bolton, which is your favorite song? All of them. I love the Bobs.
Yeah. And they just promote that guy. Oh, what his name was.
Peter. It might be. Look, my family might connect with each other mostly through movie quotes.
Yeah.
So we're always like, "Are you wearing your flare?" Are there?
That movie just is so perfect.
The only thing my mom finds upsetting about that movie is the amount of rap that's in it. She's like, I just don't get it. I mean, it's so much rap. And then I love that Khan from King of the Hill, which is also, Mike Judge, is like, yes, I faxed my TPS report. Yes, I do that. So Khan Supanusen phone is working at the Office Place office.
For I think 4 or 5 years. My son was a student there. It was not an uncommon occurrence for myself to come over after school, looking at my school and going and watching my wife. My wife's a basketball coach. She used to coach the basketball team there, so we'd come over and watch her basketball games or watch a sporting event at the school.
They have some really good popcorn there. Support your local athletics committee. We do have popcorn available and cold drinks at the concession stand. I mean, I love him, but holy God, she's like, do you know this particular man? Well, what had happened?
I known him about 5 years. My wife was best friends with his wife. We went to church, potlucks. I brought the macaroni salad.
I love the way his mind works because it works in nebulas of thought like I do, but I have that
Yes.
thing where I'm like, look, maybe other people
I know
might
when to
not
shut up.
appreciate it. Maybe people don't want to know this random fact that I just remembered, but is really cool to know, but maybe not in any way related to our conversation.
So on the day of this incident,
No,
did you see him enter any buildings?
no,
Did you see him render any aid to Aaron Weiss,
no,
any of the students?
no,
Did he assist you in clearing any buildings?
no.
Did you see him assist any law enforcement officer in doing anything?
I had no contact with him the entire day.
Moment to refer to?
I wonder if he's on his side.
And Sergeant, do you see Scott Peterson in the courtroom today?
Yes,
Can you please identify him
We'll
by name?
stipulate this is Scott Peterson.
Go ahead, ask your question.
No, I know. Judge.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you were in the middle of your last question.
Yeah.
I know you're sticking, go ahead, ask
Can
your
you please identify him by name?
yes, he's sitting right there.
They just stipulated.
To the left, I'm sorry, behind the computer, and a gray suit.
Thank you. Your Honor, let the record reflect the important identification.
question. Okay, the record shall so reflect. You may proceed.
I have no further questions.
Cross-examination, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This will be interesting. Let's see, mark this board up.
Good morning, Sergeant.
Mark, sir.
You're muted. Still muted.
One day I will learn.
Boomer.
So, yeah, pretty much. But I was worried with his general demeanor
Mhm.
with the two victims that they brought in first to kind of really pull in all the feelings.
Yeah.
And he did a remarkably good job peopling with them and asking very brief questions, keeping it to the point and apologizing. So
Yeah.
I am wondering what his
Style will
what
be.
will be with this person, because I believe he could be very helpful if he's
Yeah.
questioned right. But this man doesn't seem to have like a non-nose clam sort of level.
Imagine trying to control him on cross. If
Oh,
he's
dear
being
God.
hostile to you. All right, go
All
ahead.
right, let's.
This is not the first time we've met. We met once before.
Yes.
And that was
We
for
just got done
deposition,
talking.
correct? And you had said yesterday that in preparation for your testimony, you actually read through that deposition, correct?
Yes.
And that was back on June 30th of 2022, is that correct?
I'm gonna have to, I'll stipulate to you, yes.
Okay.
It sounds correct, yes.
For jurors who might not be familiar with what a deposition is, right? We know what that is. That's
Yes.
something that in 27 years.
I do love his stories.
Many of them, correct? Hundreds, you would say, probably?
Yeah, probably.
All right, describe in detail, so they're not lost, exactly what a deposition is.
It's where you meet in front of an attorney, could be either a state attorney or a defense
sorry.
attorney, and they ask you questions to what your actions were and what you did during the case or during an incident.
And there's a court reporter
Yes,
present,
that
correct?
records everything.
And both sides get a chance to ask you questions, right?
Yes,
Because unlike we see on TV, it's not trial by ambush, right? We get to know exactly what you're gonna say.
Yes.
correct? And then the court reporter transcribes it, meaning type it up, right?
yes,
And then you get a chance to read through it for accuracy, correct?
yes,
And it helps to refresh your recollection about something that you said over a year ago, correct?
correct.
Okay, and you did that, it helped you refresh
Yes.
your recollection. Perfect, okay.
Okay.
If I heard you correctly, you're a sergeant supervisor in the K-9 unit, correct?
Currently, yes.
And that is Coral Springs Police Department, correct?
Yes, not the
Not-
sheriff, no, not the sheriff's
Just
office.
so they're clear, Coral Springs Police Department is different than Broward Sheriff's Office, correct?
Yes, sir.
Broward Sheriff's Office, my client works for, you work for a completely different agency.
Yes, sir.
And while some of the areas that you patrol overlap, you are completely separate agencies, correct?
That is correct.
And I think we said it earlier, you've been with them for 27 years,
Yes, sir.
correct? And you knew my client from interactions that you had with him, correct?
Yes,
About 4 to 5 years, your son went to school there from 2015 to 2019, isn't that correct?
yes.
And you knew him to be a good person, correct?
I would call him a friend of mine.
Okay. And you never saw him be a coward in any respect, correct?
No,
And just so we're crystal clear, during the entire shooting, you never saw my client at all,
that is
correct?
correct.
Let's explain why, because you were in completely different areas,
Yes,
right? So you never would have seen what my client was doing, correct?
That's correct.
How he was acting.
I mean, this is a very good thing to bring up.
Yeah, because they
Because-
kind of. Sorry.
The state kind of alluded to, well, you didn't see him helping anyone, and the state is such scummy crap.
Irritates me so much when they do that. Purposefully mislead.
The thing is you can tell by the way that the state uses emotion if they've got a good case or not. Like
Yeah.
I mean, obviously in the Daryl Brooks case, it wasn't a whodunit,
Yeah.
but they made the conscious choice to not parade victim after victim after victim up. And to be very honest, I was right there with Sue Opper. that, I had no idea the extents of the damage that this person had done
Yeah.
because they ran such a tight. I mean, they just said injury, this, that.
And they were very good about like using one witness to get the crimes of several people because there were so many people that were injured, and she had
Yeah,
to introduce it all.
they were really good at getting like the adults. I mean, the dance coaches couldn't really handle it, but like the band coach,
Yeah.
and then I call him Daddy Death Eyes, but the baseball team
Yeah.
guy who was
Who
just
was at the victim impact statement?
no, well, he had to testify about Little Jackson
Oh yeah.
because that was the group. And then the most famous participant in all the trial, Mr. Bonesteel, man who will never find a shirt with a neck that fits him. Honestly, just one. I just wanted him to leap out of it, just take care of the issues allegedly.
Did you see Mullet Guy, like the 15, 16-year-old kid who looked like he was 30?
That was it was a. Here's my thing. If you know you're going to be in court, maybe just wear like a nice shirt, maybe tie back your hair, maybe not show the mullet. I don't.
It was still funny though. Anyways, good times.
Okay, I like this. It's not like they weren't otherwise occupied in keeping tabs on where people were. I hate when. So when you were heroing, did you see him anywhere? One of my kids is like, "Do I have to wear a shirt?" I'm like, "Probably." He's like,
Good
"Can I
idea.
eat the strawberries?" No. This is, I think, the impetus for this entire case, and this is, of course, just my lay opinion, but I think the parents are peeved as heck that Cruz didn't get the death penalty.
Yeah. Well,
And
and if he did, it would have most likely been overturned on appeal because of the judge's conduct.
well, and that's the thing. I don't think they realized that regardless of your thoughts about the death penalty, it's still going to be a 20-year slog where
Oh,
he
yeah.
is going to appeal at every time, and you're going to have to relive this again and again. I know they don't like the life in prison, but it's not like he's going to go up to against the parole board and they're going to have to relive it
Yeah.
every 5 seconds. Now, personally, I wish we could put him in an ISO cube along with several other people, and chat could control like Timcast has the
Oh, yeah.
Chicken City. I believe that we could solve our tax revenue problem by making a sort of national park of ISO cubes where chat can, glitter bomb or what have you. But that might be a little bit like against torture conventions and
Yeah.
such.
But if he didn't know,
That's the thing.
we don't know. I mean,
Yeah, if you do go back to day one, and I will put timestamps of the dispatch. I mean, they are saying 300 football field, the 700 building, it sounds like maybe the Harrison or Hawthorne building. It's
I mean,
very chaotic.
all the buildings are so close together. There's walls. It would be echoing so much. You'd have no idea, I don't think.
Yeah. eh, I don't know. Well, I understood what you were saying. I don't know what that says about me and my Englishing skills, but
I've never had any interaction with him the entire day.
Great. Judge, if I can approach? Sure. Would you do it standing
to
to-
just shave off his entire sideburns.
And eyebrows. He's kind of got him.
Sort of.
So the objections overruled. Go ahead.
Okay. So you're familiar with the campus,
Yes,
correct?
sir, very.
So you're familiar first with the 100 building, which is where the administrators are, correct?
Yes, we're
Did
2
you know
hours
That's
in.
where my client's office is?
I knew.
Okay. You're also familiar, this is the 1200 building, correct? Now, if I were to tell you that it's 73 yards long,
Listen to this command of the person. I mean, he's like this, correct? Correct?
Yeah.
I feel a little bit, it's a little jarring. Like, you know, one word answers.
Yes or no?
long, would that be consistent with your understanding of it?
Yeah, it's a long building.
3/4 of a football field long? Yes?
Yes, I mean, I would say so. I mean, I would say that the football field there. and-
Never mind.
They're drawing the
So
field.
much for that.
So I would say, yeah.
And even the building next to the 1200 building, the 1300 building, that's about the same size, correct?
Yeah, I would imagine.
So from the east side of the 1200 building, all the way to the west side of the 1300 building, you're talking about a football field and a half. Is that
That would
correct?
be- Yeah, that would be a good estimate, I would imagine.
And then you add even more space between the two because there's like a courtyard area here. Is that a yes?
Yes.
How far would you estimate that courtyard area is?
Probably like 20 yards,
Okay,
somewhere
so
in that
now we're
area.
getting closer to two football fields between the east and the west of those two buildings, correct?
I don't know what the building, I don't know what building 13 is, but it's a good distance.
He's like, I wasn't there when it was created.
You initially,
But I know
if
the
you
man
were
that did
points
the
on board
architecture.
to Where you were initially, we saw you on the video, you're watering the field,
Right,
right?
sir.
Okay, baseball field, okay.
Just what I was
And
thinking.
my client, you know where his
It was
position
built in
was.
19.
I believe, he was in his office or somewhere near the front main office, I believe.
Got it. Ultimately, though, his position of cover,
Where do you
okay?
go to make
during
those
the shooting,
huge
Do you
drawings?
know where that's located?
Just based off,
I know. I was like, what is their Kinko's bill?
Yeah. It's impressive.
what I've seen and stuff, I don't have any independent recollection of exactly where it is because I've never saw him, but tell me he was sitting, I know he was somewhere in the corridor, near the end of the building.
Okay, so assuming we're saying between the 700 and 800 building over here, okay? You initially would be over there,
Yes.
correct?
Mhm.
Can you estimate how many hundreds of yards distance between the two of you?
It's gotta be several hundred yards.
Okay, I mean, he can't see what you're seeing, you can't see what he's seeing.
No,
Your view of the kids, we saw on video kids running, there is no way he could have seen any of that, correct?
Objection, not personal knowledge, speculation.
Well, it's overruled, but I don't want you to guess, sir. If you have personal knowledge, you can answer the
Yeah,
question.
I do not, I have no knowledge of what he was able to see and what he wasn't able to see.
Based upon the physicality, right, of where you were located, it would be highly unlikely for him, from where he was positioned, to see the things he was
I
seeing.
can't testify to what he said or what he saw or what he didn't see. I can only testify to what I saw.
Got it. And one of the things that you
Okay, lawyer Zoolander, I need you to quit the posing.
said that you didn't see are the kids who were running on that video that we saw, correct?
That's correct.
There's no question, we saw it. There were kids running in your general area, correct? And you're saying on the record here, you didn't see those kids,
That's
correct?
correct.
You're not committing perjury, correct? You just didn't see them, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
This is actually a good point to cover because one of his one charge is perjury,
Hmm.
because I guess he thought he was in a debriefing, and again, the way that his lawyer put it, he was, expressing what he could see, whereas the state was, saying like, oh, well, you didn't say X, Y, and Z or Z, depending on where you are. So one of his charges is perjury.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you were on the baseball field, you hear the fire alarm go off, is that correct?
Yes.
You didn't know what that was for,
No,
correct?
sir, I did not.
My guess is, fire alarms go off all the
Yeah.
time, it doesn't mean it's a
Yeah.
mass shooting, right?
No, like I said in my deposition, the culinary elementary students all commonly will burn something and have a firearm go off during school. It's not an uncommon occurrence in schools.
Correct. In fact, a lot of the kids are like, "Oh, here we go again," right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dang it, females today can't cook without burning everything. I can make that joke. I have a past. I present as female.
Then you hear 5 to 6 bangs, correct?
Yes,
And your initial thought was, wait, that's gunfire or no?
no, fireworks, like
Correct.
I stated.
You thought it was fireworks. So the sounds that you were hearing are equally consistent in your mind to fireworks, firecrackers.
Correct.
So you hear those shots, and you don't have a specific location of where those shots are coming from, correct?
No,
You can't say, 1,200 building,
no,
correct?
absolutely not.
1,300 building.
No,
You couldn't tell whether it was inside or outside, correct?
no, sir.
So when you're listening to those particular sounds in that particular area, there was no way to discern from the sound, the unique sound that was being created, that was from inside a building or outside a building. Is that correct?
Yes, not from where I was at, no.
Then you hear another round of gunfire, correct?
That's correct.
And that was before you see the kids running, correct?
True.
And only because you see kids running do you start to think, well, wait, that might be gunfire, correct?
Yes, sir.
So had you not seen the kids running, your thought still would have been, well, this could possibly be firecrackers.
Correct.
So that extra stimulus, seeing the kids running, helped provide you some additional information,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
And by the way, all this is happening on the west side of the campus, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. My client, as you know, is on the entirely opposite east side of the campus,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
All right. And there's no question, by the way, and I'm sorry you had to go through this. This was a very stressful situation.
Yes, sir.
And you've been through a lot. I mean, 27 years in law enforcement, you've seen some things. I would imagine, I do feel for you, this is trauma that you have to carry with you, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, relative counsel testifying.
Yeah, it's actually sustained as to both. Go ahead, sir. Ask your-
This was a very traumatic experience for you.
Yes.
you know? You encounter security specialist Bonner in his golf cart, correct?
Yes,
And he tells you that a code red had been ordered, correct?
yes,
And did you ever that afternoon speak with either Anna Ramos
no,
or Assistant Principal Jeffrey Morford to determine whether it was my client who ordered the code red?
no,
Did Bonner ever tell you who he heard order the code red?
no,
Then you ran into Kyle Lamon right outside the gate by the entrance of the senior lot, correct?
yes, that is correct.
Can you show us on the board? This, by the way, now you're moving closer to the area,
Yes.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you still don't know where those shots are coming from as you approach the gate,
That's
correct?
correct.
And show us, if you could, where it is, please.
So.
You there? Hello? This is awkward. Anyone see me? Hello? No?
Sorry, my internet went.
Oh,
I don't know what it did, to be very honest with you, because I rarely know
worries.
what things do. Let me go back to the days.
did it close out?
It just went all black. Who
Yeah.
knows? Yeah. Yeah, I know, you guys. I don't know what did it or why. We never know why.
You ran into Kyle Lamon right outside the gate by the
I
entrance of the
believe
senior
so.
loft,
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
Can you show us on the board? This, by the way, now
I
you're moving
wish.
closer to the area,
Yes.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you still don't know where those shots are coming from as you approach the gate,
That's
correct?
correct.
And show us, if you could, where it is.
Please. So there's a shed here, as you come through here, there's a parking lot, it goes out the parking lot, and it's right on the back side of the shed right here, there's some grassy area.
So if I saw you correctly, I don't want to put words in your mouth, you were rubbing where it says like building 11,
Yeah,
that was the building
yeah, I
11,
would
that's
say
a good
right-
place?
Yeah, that's probably pretty good.
Hold on, folks. One voice at a time. The court reporter can do one
Yeah,
voice
I'm
at a
sorry,
time.
yeah, we're building 11,
Hold on.
The court reporter is like, F you
Kill
all.
me.
This is the third court reporter this hour.
And you give her hazard pay.
Pretty much. Well, I think it's a him.
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Isn't that older
I
guy?
was gonna ask a question.
I-
Stop talking.
um,
He's gonna
Or is
answer.
that
No, I
Arias?
think the older guy was Jody Arias. I think
Okay.
this one's a younger guy.
Wow.
I'm surprised the older guy didn't smack the discount Henry Winkler as he was just flailing in front of him.
That's really weird to see men as court reporters.
I know
I've
I shouldn't
just-
feel like that, but I
I've just
did.
never seen it.
I know. I'm like, why are you here? Like, are you auditing something?
Yeah. I mean, it's a rough job. So,
As an auditory learner, I will tell you, yeah, it's definitely, it'd be hard to isolate that and
Yeah.
get everything right. And then, oh my God, if you have this man got 130 pages.
yeah, for one question.
He will stop talking, and then Laura will ask the next question. Go ahead, sir, you may ask your next question.
Okay,
So,
apparently
is it
the
fair to
judge a
say
little
that
testament.
You got to where it says building 11? Is that where
Yes.
you were?
Yes.
And what happens at building 11?
Kyle is, like I said, he's running from the other area across the parking lot. I meet him there. He's crying, he's screaming, saying he's been shot. Has a cat. Yeah.
I want to say, before he tells you anything about a location,
Mhm.
you're there with Kyle Lemons by building 11, where you put your finger,
Yes.
correct? And at that point, when you're that close, you still don't know where the shots are coming from, correct?
That's correct.
You still don't know whether it's inside or outside, correct?
That's correct.
And at that point, you've heard a number, you didn't just hear one shot, you heard multiple shots, and you still couldn't discern precisely
lie
where the shots were
detected.
coming from. Isn't that correct, sir?
Yes.
But Kyle Lamons, he gives you some additional information to help you discern where the shots were coming from, correct?
He does, but that doesn't happen until we get back to the locker room
Okay, so
of
tell
the
us,
school.
go ahead and tell us what happened.
So at that point, when he comes out, obviously, I think I've already testified to it, but he comes out, he has a catastrophic leg injury. Obviously, I go into saving his life is my first priority. We get him, I go down around the football field, all the way out to the baseball, back to the baseball house, the baseball locker room. Once we go in there, we start giving him first aid, bandage his leg, and at that time is when I had a conversation with him, asking him what happened, what he saw, what the description of the person. That's when I made the phone call to.
Got it. We'll pick it up there, but I want to go back.
Yes,
You did hear, after you made contact with Kyle Lamons, where you showed us where you made contact with him, you actually heard additional shots, did you not?
yes.
Okay, well, let's talk about those. While you're by the building 11, how would you, in words, describe for the jurors who weren't there, how would you describe the sounds that you're hearing?
Loud, percussive, and reverberating off of the area. It was very, like I said, it felt like you were being shot at. It felt like you could feel the percussion of the fire.
This is really good testimony.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely painting a clearer word picture than he usually does. but he's also giving you, he's like, it's loud, it's percussive, you feel like you are under fire. So,
Yeah, it's with it echoing. Yeah, I mean, it would be very intense.
yeah.
Fire of the shooting.
All right, you said a lot, and I want to make sure that I heard you correctly. First, you said it was very loud, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm
You
sorry.
also said reverb.
Yeah, reverberating, yeah.
Explain to the jurors what you mean by that, just to be crystal clear.
The sound was reverberating out, away from the building, out towards us. It was coming away from the building, bouncing off the building, coming out towards us.
And when you say bouncing off of a building, again, just to be crystal clear, what did that mean to you?
It's just the way it sounded. I don't know how to explain it. It just felt like the sounds were coming out towards us. If that makes sense. If that makes sense.
Because they've never seen the school, describe how physically the buildings are set up that would account for the reverberation and the banging off things.
Yeah, they run, the building 13 is just slightly offset from building 12. So the walls run all the way along where we were. So you actually see both sides of the west side, or sorry, the north side of those buildings. So it's one big cement barrier basically along those.
And what does that mean? What does cement do when you're talking about gunfire? Big buildings,
Right.
cement, explain to them
It
why that made it.
it reverberates out, makes it louder, moves it out. Like if you're shooting at a range, a closed range, it becomes louder as it moves out towards you. That's what it felt like in that situation.
Do you believe that the buildings, the way they're configured with concrete, the way that they are, made it more difficult to discern precisely where the shots were coming from?
I felt at the time that they were coming from that area. Now, like I testified in the area of the 12 to 1300 building in that area. I couldn't tell you whether, like I testified before, I couldn't tell you whether they were inside, outside, up on the roof, third floor, second floor, first floor. I couldn't tell you that because I didn't have any active stimulus of anything. I didn't see glass.
Oh,
breaking.
don't
I
say
didn't
stimulus
see
again.
bullets being shot around me. I didn't see muzzle flash. All I could go off is what I was hearing, and there was no other visual stimulation
Okay.
except for the sound of the gunfire.
If you could stand up again, when you said the best you could get was to narrow it down to the area around the 1200 and 1300 building. I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same buildings. These two right here, 12 and 13, correct?
Yes, like when I testified earlier, I interpreted on the monitor, I would say between this area right here is where I anticipated it coming. So somewhere in between the 12 and the 1300 building.
Got it.
Because I could see, I was out in this area, I could see this whole end of the building. There was nothing that I could see visually or anything. So if someone was shooting out of that building, I probably would have been able to see, hear a glass break or something along those lines. So I would estimate that was in the area.
And he's
of
just
the
so
12
sweet. You just want to
But
hug
you also
him,
couldn't
but
rule out a much larger
also like,
perimeter, isn't that correct?
God, when you end this
Like
sentence.
we've talked before, that's just where I heard the gunfire. That doesn't mean that was the only place of gunfire. That's where I heard the gunfire.
But candidly, when you were actually there in real time, it wasn't in your mind narrowed down to just that large yet circular area between the 12 and 1300 building. Isn't that correct?
Phrasing.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Isn't it a fact that in real time, when you're hearing those shots from where you've described your position, you didn't narrow it down and say, well, this is only the place that those shots could be, correct?
I would tell you that if I were in the same situation that I was in that situation with a firearm, I would have gone to the area that I circled.
That wasn't the question, sir.
That's what I would do.
I got you.
That's where I believe the gunshots were coming from. So that would answer your question.
Well, isn't it a fact
Oh,
that you also
we're getting
believe
spicy, man.
that the gunfire could have come from outside of any of those two buildings, the 12 and 1300 buildings? Yes?
In that area, yes, sir.
Correct. You also included in that scenario the top of either of those two buildings, correct?
Absolutely. I guess I think I've already explained that I was not able to visually see exactly where the gunfire was. There was no other visual stimulation. I was just merely going
He was
off
not
what I-
stimulated. We get it.
Okay.
So I'm going to just run through
Okay.
a number of scenarios in your mind at the time, because now we know a lot more now,
Mhm.
correct?
That's
You
correct.
had no idea when you're in that moment what you're dealing with, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, now we know there was one shooter, but you actually thought there could have been more,
Yeah,
correct?
there's always a +1 rule in law enforcement, where if there's one shooter, you always believe there's a possibility of a second. It's just it's one of the,
And that is something that Yippee lawyer brought up in his opening, that all the cops are going to be operating on the +1 principle. So
Sure.
you already have that level of chaos going. So that was good to, even though, deputy over here is trying to get a little feisty,
Yeah.
he's still getting that, +1. He's still hitting the things that he said in his opening, whereas the state's like, do you remember those horrible feelings you had about that guy?
Mm.
I mean, I really
Yeah, it
I
really doesn't
don't
make sense.
yeah, I know they want someone to blame, and look, if my kid was there, the
Sure.
problem is you have more of this is not a good look, but you have much more of a case of using this particular legal theory on the Uvalde cops.
Yeah.
Now, I want to
Yeah.
see every single one of them, well, let's not say that on the internets, but
Yeah. It's only barely over 2 hours.
yeah, but let's just say that, especially dude that we were told to feel sorry for because his wife was texting him,
Yeah.
you know, I,
Didn't one of the cops also have a kid in the school and get held back?
well, no, some of the cops got their kids out. That's what,
Oh.
can I explain to you and, those of you that aren't parents, but I hear kids screaming and I see a bunch of yahoos standing around asking, "Do we have a shield?" I am using my Ford Transit allegedly
In
to
Minecraft.
in Minecraft to Kool-Aid man my way through a wall, okay?
Yeah.
I, I'm just saying, if you want to go after cops that did not a doggone thing, I would think Uvalde would be the case you would want to go with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
training techniques that we use.
And so there's always on your mind the idea that there could be multiple shooters unless and until you're told otherwise, correct?
Yes, sir.
And even though you're hearing shots in a general 1,200 to 1,300 building area, you don't know whether there's other shooters around the campus,
No, I
correct?
did not.
That's all in play at that moment, correct?
Yes, of course.
So some of the other things that were in play, we just talked about, the tops of either of the 12 or 1,300 building, correct?
Yes.
You also couldn't rule out like the neighboring buildings. I know you thought maybe 12, 1,300, but it also could have been like the neighboring sixth building, right?
Based on on where I was and how I
Yeah.
heard things, I didn't believe it would have been from the sixth, nor would I believed it would have been from the football field.
Got it. So let's narrow it down to this area, correct? Because you're not just saying inside or outside of the 12 or 1,300 buildings, you're also saying the potential areas around those buildings, correct?
Yeah, the area that I circled and showed you, yes, sir.
But it would also include the courtyard area, correct?
In between 12 and 13?
Correct.
Yes.
It would also include the parking lot, correct? Isn't that your testimony?
Not really. I believed it was coming from where I was saying, like I said, it was reverberating down that wall. Could it possibly? I mean, I'm not going to speculate the thing, but I'm telling you what I felt at that moment and my belief at that moment.
If he asked you a question about the parking lot, I believe in your deposition you probably said parking lot.
Yeah.
He doesn't
It's-
seem,
They're prepared. They know what they're asking you.
yeah, it's not like they picked it out of a hat.
Yeah.
Are you saying that your testimony is that you're eliminating the parking lot as a possibility?
I'm saying that my testimony was that I believe the shots were coming from somewhere in the area between the 12 and the 1,300 building.
Okay.
The west side of the 1,200 building, possibly the east side of the 1,300 building would be my testimony.
Gotcha.
And I believe I said that in my deposition.
Now, at some point, when shots go off again, you yell active shooter,
Yes.
correct?
I actually yelled it to the officer that was standing on the outside of the fence.
And in response to that, you hear something, correct?
I'm not sure what you're asking, sir.
Was there another cop
Oh,
who said
yes,
something
yes.
to you?
Yes, well, I don't know if it was a police officer or not. When I was moving from the park, inside the parking lot, as I have Kyle, I'm actually yelling active shooter, active shooter, active killer. I don't remember exactly what it is, active shooter, whatever, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Somebody tells me, and I'd have to refer to exact wordage, but something to the fact of, basically they're shooting at us, get the fuck down, something along those lines. I have no independent recollection of who that was. I never saw anybody. All I heard was a voice. I'm not sure if it was a police officer who was on the outside. I've never been able, nobody's ever come to me and told me who it was. But it sounded like the terminology that a police
His angel is a potty mouth.
officer was used. So I do assume that it was. a
They were
police officer
using the
telling me
strong
what
language.
And specifically, if I heard you
Kinda
correctly,
locker room
because you
chat.
read your deposition, the words that person shouts is, their contraction for multiple, they're shooting
Oh, Lord
at us.
Jesus.
They're
But you
shooting
Let's
don't know
not
how
talk
they
grammar.
identify.
Yes, that is correct.
And you believe that to be
How
true,
dare you
correct?
in the
Yeah,
holy
I mean,
month
like
of
I said, that
June?
goes to the first one.
Right. The only reason why you knew that there was shooting going on specifically in the 1200 building and not outside or the areas around it or on top or in the courtyard area is because someone came up and
Okay,
told
I'm
you that.
streaming.
Isn't
Can
that
you?
correct?
Yes.
Did you
because
like
I
your new
went-
swim
Well,
trunk?
I went toward them and found him, yes.
Got it. And then you take that information, and you thought that was pretty important information for everybody on scene to know,
Yes.
correct? So important that you didn't call the general police line, you called 911,
Yeah, I
correct?
don't, like I said, I think by mistake, I actually called our non-emergency number, but I got through and I talked to our communication supervisor and provided that information. I don't know if it was a 911 call. or
And
not.
so specifically, you recall that the person that you
He's like, I talked to Edith down at the dispatchery, and she was going to tell me about her grandson. He's not doing too well running with a bad crowd. Keep him in your prayers. Uh,
He's doing the reefer,
yeah.
the
He's doing
marijuana.
He is vaping.
That's not good for his lungs.
I just want to see his wife. I need a feral or something just to see if the woman has like, I wonder if she just like verbally vomits just like he does to other people because she just is never given a word edgewise.
Or do you think she stopped asking him how his day was after like the 3rd month of marriage?
He's still telling her the first
Yeah.
3 months of the marriage. They'll get to the end of that day come their 90th
Yes,
anniversary.
honey, I know. Okay, thank you. Dinner's ready.
spoke to at 911 was named Pat Thurman.
Yes.
Isn't that correct?
Yes,
So you have a
For God's sake,
specific
don't give him a
recollection
name.
during the shooting of calling into 911 and relaying critical information that there is an active shooter inside the 1200 building. Isn't that correct?
yes, sir.
Do you know what Pat Thurman did with that information?
I do not.
Pat Thurman works for Coral Springs, not for BSO.
Yeah, that's the state, Mr. Igosh, you are not the witness.
Okay, sorry.
Form your comments.
I'm not an
I
expert
love this
in vaping.
lawyer. This lawyer is like, look, I'm not going to even think about the rules. Like the judge told him to stop with the Scott Ireland. He still keeps, or Israel, he still keeps a big old picture up like,
That's what you
come
gotta
on,
do.
he's like, sir, I am already in contempt of court.
What's the worst? $500 fine?
He's like, I'm going to play that little thin edge of
Yes, to the witness.
contempt.
Cross-examination. Go ahead, sir.
Isn't it a fact that Pat Thurman works for Coral Springs, yes or no?
Yes, he's a supervisor in our communications division.
And you're aware that the communications that exist with Coral Springs is separate from the communications of BSO,
Yes,
correct? You don't share radios unless they are patched and intentionally joined together,
that is
correct?
correct.
So a BSO deputy, like my client, would never get that critical information unless it's shared from Coral Springs to BSO, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And/or unless radios are patched, correct? Is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was a question.
Did you think when you made that information?
Sorry, I thought you were
gave that
testifying.
critical information, that that would make its way
People
to my
don't generally
client or
ask me
BSO
questions
deputy?
after a while.
You believe that that information was critical, correct?
Of course.
Just imagine him when he's in his 70s and the grandkids come over. He's never going to shut up.
You were informed that there were multiple teams inside of the building, correct?
Yes,
And that's why you don't go in, because there's teams already in there.
correct.
Explain for the jurors why it's not just a free-for-all and how there's some like hierarchy in law enforcement. Explain how you just don't decide on your own and just go in and do something.
Well, like I said,
Okay, from Office Space, would you say you would be leaping to conclusions?
Jump to conclusion, Matt.
Conclusion. You know what? I swear to goodness, I need a oh, I don't know what his name is. I was just calling the jump to conclusion, Matt. But I need a him. You know, he's like, look, they're engineers. They're not good with people. I take things from the people to the engineers.
I'm good with people.
I don't know who it. I think it's Southern Living or something, but they have a skit where it's an introvert's personal assistant, and the guy's like, "Hey, I want to go out with so and so today," and she's like, "Doesn't look like he has any time on his schedule," and he says, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What's all this?" And she's like, "Well, at 9:30 he's going to eat breakfast. Then he's going to alternate between playing video games and playing another video game. Then he's going to take a nap."
That's how I am with people.
I told my husband, I was like, "Can I get one of those?" I really want to learn how to do that, but that seems like, look, if transparent overlays are already stumping me, I think a little countery thing is. I'm going to need Aussie Overlord to show me how to do it.
Should be. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'm good
Okay,
with this
figure it out, and then you have to really dumb it down.
stuff. It shouldn't be too hard, but we'll see.
I say that every time I see an easy tutorial on how to do this, and then I'm like, I don't even why? I'll just take a picture of it on my phone and maybe put it up there. Or something.
There you go.
I could testify previously, when we got to the position, we had every intent and purpose of going inside a building.
This man or the Zoolander attorney at law has very nice color combinations in his tie compared to Beanbag the lawyer.
But when we met with the deputy that was on the corner, he advised there was already a large number of people in there. And at that point, because we assumed that they had already started searching the building and actually moving from floor to floor, we didn't want to cause a problem to where you had, like I said, friendly fire, things like that. Where you come in and you surprise somebody that's trying to find what they at the time was an active killer inside that building.
Very reasonable, but explain to them, when you say friendly fire, you don't just run in, because when you've got teams in there, what could happen?
No, they could get shot.
Even if you're in law enforcement gear, that could happen,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, it's a stressful situation.
So those situations have to be controlled. People can't just run in willy-nilly, correct?
Correct.
Willy-nilly.
And by the way, you're wearing a vest at this point. You got a vest from someone.
Yeah, it's a
Why did
SWAT
you-
vest.
What's that?
It was a SWAT vest,
Okay.
one of our SWAT vests.
Why did you think it was important to wear a SWAT vest? It's obvious, but again, I want to make sure everybody's.
Because there was an active killer shooting people at our school.
Why don't you tell us about the history of bulletproof vests?
Look, I felt a little underdressed in just a t-shirt. We
We
do
wanted to be
dress for
stylish.
supper here.
It was black. It went with my suit. Or no, he
It
was in
was
sports.
it was slimming.
It accentuated my girlish figure.
And that face is about like, why you have to ask me stupid question.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't hit you, correct?
That's correct.
You know that my client didn't have a vest that day, correct?
I did not know that.
The times that you ever see my client on campus, have you ever seen him wearing a vest?
Attention to whether it was needed for a vest or not.
Now, even though there were teams going into the building, you still chose to take a tactical position of cover, did you not?
That's correct.
Explain to the jurors first what a tactical position of cover is.
Basically, we used the building to prevent being shot, basically.
Okay, now all I can envision is on The Office when they thought they were doing parkour, which is terrible, and I don't know why my mind is going there right now. But all I can see is like tactical and just like sneaking around badly.
We use that as cover and concealment, anticipating that either somebody of active shooter would come out of the building or start shooting again from inside the building outside.
So there was a genuine concern when you're on campus there during that shooting, there could be shots coming from anywhere, correct?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when we specifically got there and we looked up and we saw the windows on the third floor that were shot out, it was a very uneasy feeling of where we were. And that was the whole reason why we took a position of cover on the other side of the building. It was a much better area for us because we had actually, like I said, the building was able to provide more cover for us at that position than it was standing on which would have been the south side of building 13.
Great
The
response.
Windows that you saw shot out, that was on the west side of the building,
Yes,
correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Ooh.
It could have been west or, yeah, well, I think it would have been west side.
Okay, if I can show you a picture and let us know whether this fairly and accurately depicts kind of
Wow,
first
he
of all,
does
the
have large
west
hands.
side of the 700.
I feel like he's gonna say, "Can I show you a picture?" And then he's gonna be like, "These are my shots. What do you think? Just like this one, I'm more serious. This is more glamour punk."
Of the 1,200 buildings.
Mr. Iron,
Where the hell does he get this stuff?
Oh my God.
I don't,
Again with The Office, it's like the giant check that they had to, I don't know, stop not liver cancer or something
Yeah,
that they gave to the.
rabies. To prevent rabies.
He's like, we got $20. We got $200.
Like 500, and they spent 300 of it on the giant check.
That show is criminally well. Okay, let's just say that Mr. Moe says I cannot buy the Lego set that is The Office unless it is tax deductible, and I'm still figuring out a way that that's going to be the case.
Build Lego sets on your stream.
Hear me curse and. Okay, has anyone been exposed to the Lego movie?
No.
Okay, well, don't, but well, it's okay, but it's just the strangest damn thing that you see because most of it is just Lego and then the rest is Will Ferrell yelling at his kid because Lego, the people are actually this giant part of the basement that he's.
Sounds
Oh my
nice.
gosh. Now you see
Ta-da!
him and, oh my gosh, what is wrong with this courtroom?
It turns out he's under the judge's robe.
And here's a dove. Well,
Pulls out some flowers.
was this the card that you were thinking of?
there's
Thank you,
more stuff,
Mads.
more building to the left, but
Correct.
I think there's some more to the left, but yes.
Do they
Does
not
this
have access to an
memorialize the
easel?
windows that you saw
Yeah.
shot out? Okay.
Do they have one big enough?
Mark, I'd like to introduce
Well, I mean, you'd put it in the
They're
middle.
gonna put that into as
It's
evidence?
gonna be Mark, State.
How the hell is that gonna file that?
The judge is like, God dang it.
Oh, look
I-
at him! He just put his hands on his head.
How it works, the state puts on their case, they rest, the defense puts on their case, and we have a rule that you can only introduce evidence
Okay,
while you are presenting your case.
so
However,
that makes sense. So he can't introduce it at this time, but I was like, what the hell is going on now? I thought you could introduce all the evidence.
But how are they gonna like file it? And
I'm sure they have a like PDF that they use to get Jeff down at Kinko's to make the big giant glossy board.
maybe.
I need to look into how much money those are because I've got some posters.
however, by the agreement of the attorneys, if there's no objections, sometimes
Across the goddamn stream.
How is his hair like flat?
He is either real life Hank Hill or, Bankman if he gave up science and was like, I'll just try the law. Ivan Reichman is like, I'm like, sir, can we borrow you for the next Ghostbuster movies?
He's so weird.
I wish I could make fun names for exhibits like.
Well, that was the thing in the Rittenhouse trial when Photo Chad brought in his blown up exhibits.
Oh my
Schroeder
God.
commented on like, I don't know if they're going to be happy with the big ones and how they're going to like put them, file them, and everything.
I love that he was okay. He was totally on the spectrum, but I love
Oh, yeah.
how he was just so just
Sweet.
there about it.
He was
just
so
like,
pissed.
oh yeah, he was angry. He's like,
Yeah.
well, and then Lunchbox was like, well, you take really fine pictures. I remember you bringing the pictures. Do you remember what we talked?
complimented your photography? We talked about your photography.
And he's like, yeah, you did that right before you asked me to lie about stuff.
yeah.
And Lunchbox is like, God dang
And just every question was worse for him.
it.
Boehner's just
Defense
sitting
was like, Defense is like, well, we don't really have a cross, but those are some nice pictures. Oh, Photo Chad. We need to do a Where is Photo Chad? I hope that he got a bump and he is now doing photo chatty things
He's
all
selling
around
his
the world.
pictures and he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, he's got like 2 or 3 cats, like cool
Yeah.
ones. They've got the wheel thing.
He's so great. Grambo and him was just this devastating
Oh,
1-2.
I know. And Grambo's like, I was there. I had my AK and my rocket launcher. And she's like, look, Your Honorness, I hate to say this, but he was the little short weird man was saying, again, Your Honorness, I hate to say this.
Jury, ladies, gentlemen of the court. And drops the
She
N word.
Hard R.
I've been trying to get her on for an interview. I'm friends with her on
That-
Twitter.
Oh, really? That would
Yeah.
be awesome. Is she
Yeah.
from Arizona?
No, she's Kenosha.
Oh, of course she is.
No.
Don't listen. Under this is really blonde. Like,
okay.
not him blonde, but close to.
No worries.
No, I'm jealous of you because you are in Arizona. Well, okay, not for the heat or anything else, but you are close to Razor Fist.
It's actually
And,
been pretty good this summer, so there's that.
No, that's a lie. Because all I see when I look at Twitter on Arizona is trash cans melting into asphalt.
It's barely been 100.
Sir.
He did.
No. Oh.
He either had to, I don't remember if he got fired or he just resigned, but he had to go to therapy and it was a really, really stressful time because a lot of people blamed him because he threw Boehner under the bus and they weren't happy about that.
And
the
of course,
anti-cow people.
the mild and tolerant and loving people
Yeah,
decided to harass the man, a
the autistic man.
neurodivergent man.
Yeah. And I'm on the spectrum. I'm not insulting him. I mean, the guy
No,
has like a
I
photographic memory. He's very intelligent.
and, I will say he peopled very well.
Oh, yeah.
Because I definitely, now that I've talked to some friends, I think I was more on the female side just than not peopling, and, of course, I married a Walmart freaking greeter, like, level of extrovert and managed to have the 3 most, like, peopling kids ever.
Oof.
I know, I was like, "You want why do you wanna go outside? Like,
I know.
we have"
When I go to family gatherings, I hide in the bathroom.
I can feel that sometimes. My husband knows that, like, we have one good peopling event a day. Like, if I have to go to, oh gosh, Sam's Club on a weekend, you might as well just let me.
Yeah.
And I was so mad because he went all nerd and, uh,
With his
and
pins.
yeah, and I was like, "MFer, I like Star Wars too, but you must be a Disney Star Wars fan."
Did you see the gay pride Vulcan pin he wore? I think this was after the Rittenhouse trial, but yeah,
No, I have not made it my job to keep up on Binger.
I have,
And
just because I despise him with every fiber of my being.
yeah, I don't know. I feel we have completely gotten off the point, but
I know, I'm sorry.
I did not watch the Zachariah Anderson trial. I will probably be doing a rewatch, like a retro watch of that at some point.
Yeah,
But when I saw the Drudge Schrader from the sentencing of Zachariah
yeah.
versus Rittenhouse, I was like, how in the heck did they let him stay
Well,
a judge?
well, last year he fell and hit his head, and it was really, really bad.
I mean,
They didn't think he was going to be capable of coming back. They then demoted him to civil court and now family court. The problem with Zachariah Anderson was that every other judge in the courthouse knew people related to the case. So Judge Schroeder ended up with it.
I'm wondering if that's a part of an appellate thing that they can do as far as
You can try. I mean, yeah. I mean,
oh,
go ahead.
so you guys, as a political and like history nerd, I really loved the sequel trilogy, other than the weird thing with, Anakin being like 5 and Padme being like 45, when they got together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure, Mads. Yeah, that
Yeah.
traffic, well, is there like a court where he can teach people stuff? Pretend court? Kangaroo court?
I don't know.
That'd be
His wife is sick too. It's just really sad.
But I did like the prequels because I liked all the, Senate stuff and everything, which is why I won't run for Senate, because I may go full Darth Vader, like, I'll just make them, agree. There you go. Sorry. It is okay. I fat finger the keyboard all the time.
There's evidence in the other party's case. So although we are still in the state's presentation, without objection from the state, defense, you're asking to move defense exhibit A for identification in the evidence right now?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Gomes, you have no objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so without
That's
objection,
nice of the state.
defense exhibit A for identification is now going to be in evidence. That is defense exhibit 1.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, State. Just this photo that I just showed you,
Yes.
just so we're clear, that is on the the west side of the 1200 building, correct?
That is correct.
My client's on the entirely
Seriously, how-
other side, the east side.
Do you see how
Yes,
pissed
that
off
is correct.
Okay.
Gladys
There's no
is
way
about the
physically
bullshit
for
she's
him to
gotta
see
try to
this.
put in? She is like,
Where the
I
hell am
know
I going to
he
store
didn't.
this?
She's like, I know he did not hand me this daggone poster board. Like, I am over here to be his servant. She was like, I know he didn't. Even the
No.
judge is like, sir, sir, someone came up, some judge must have seen her. She must have made a eye movement. That was a deputy coming in like, we don't mess with Gladys, okay?
Windows from where he's positioned, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. If you
Oh,
could
for
take a look.
flip's sake, get a
Show us the
goddamn.
windows that you saw that had been shot out.
I don't remember. It was on the third floor. I don't remember the numbers of one.
Be the
back.
world's
I'm glad you
biggest
don't
easel.
remember.
Third floor, and like I said, I can't tell you specifically, but no.
And that's fine. But one of these windows over here,
Yes,
correct?
yeah, somewhere along the top of the top building of these windows over here.
Okay. So tactical positions of cover, that's not being a coward, correct? Like you weren't a coward, you took a tactical position of cover. 'Cause
That's
how
correct.
you're trained, correct? And under what circumstances they train you to take tactical positions of cover?
Lots of situations when there's, when you're in danger, when you're being shot at, well, it depends what's going on in that situation.
And should you leave your tactical position of cover pursuant to the training when you still feel like you're in danger and might have potential?
I don't know. Have you seen Predator? Because oh gosh, who was the one that became a governor?
Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, Jesse Ventura is just carrying a minigun, like I don't have time to bleed.
He's such a putz.
Yeah. Well, at least he managed to become governor. I haven't done that
Yeah,
yet.
well, governor of Minnesota. It's not saying much.
Yeah. It's like Chandler dating Miss Wisconsin. Like, well, she's not like Miss, Florida.
New York. Wisconsin 9 or California 3.
Yeah. We are a fluffy people. We need our winter layers.
It's cold there.
Although, so there are a lot of people, according to my Walmart, that were apparently not raised with shame. So these women are very, and good on them if they feel good about themselves, but the tensile strength of those size 4 shorts that you are still trying to squeeze into, the thread is going to give at some point, and it's going to be catastrophic.
Button's going to pop, take someone's eye out.
Yes. I love Predator too. It's just sweaty Danny Glover for like 2 hours.
Sexy.
Basically saying, I am too old for this shit. He plays the same character in Lethal Weapon. Let's try to at least get through this guy.
Sniper fire.
He'll be on for another 4 hours, I'm sure.
You didn't leave your tactical position of cover until you knew you were safe, correct?
In that situation at that time, yeah, there was no, like I said, there was no gunfire going off, correct?
Right. And no one came out with like a white flag to tell everybody, hey, it's safe, right? You had to make that determination on your own, correct?
It was determined by the people.
The level of just outright sarcasm demeaning this lawyer conveys, the judge is going to get on him. I'm waiting for the judge to snap.
The judge is really passive, so he's just taking advantage of it till the judge has enough.
I know, and when he snaps, it's going to be glorious because usually people that are just like, you get to that line where they're like, oh, really?
Like Schroeder yelling at Boehner.
Don't get brazen with me.
Oh, I
It
love
was
that
the-
moment.
I know. I need a T-shirt that says "Don't get brazen with me," just
They
with
have
his
them.
face on it. They have them?
Oh, yeah. I'll see if I can find you a link. I need to get
Oh.
one.
See, now I'm worrying with myself because I promised that for every new thing I'd buy, I'd get rid of something. And I'm like, but I love all my stupid t-shirts. I know he is like your bitchy gay friend. And I'm saying that with love, but this lawyer is like the king slash queen of petty. Because you will never be more lifted up and talked shade about by your best gay friend.
People over the radio system and then passed on to me.
Got it. And that was your radio system, Coral Springs Radio.
There was the BSO deputy and our now would be our chief that had a radio. So I was just going off of what they were telling me. I didn't have any real-time information through the radio.
And by the way, you weren't the only one who took a tactical position of cover. If I heard you correctly yesterday, Captain McKeon, who's a SWAT commander,
Yes.
he took a tactical position of cover too,
Well, I
correct?
don't know if he's a SWAT commander at that point, but I don't remember exactly what his position was at that point.
We were just getting ready to have his his ceremony. It was going to be real nice. It was at the church's cafeteria down there on 11.
It was a potluck.
I can't imagine that. Like, so I curse more than I really should, and I'm working on that because there is nothing more rewarding in parenting than hear your 7-year-old saying, "God, this effing thing fell down." And I was like, well,
Oops.
maybe I need to work on myself. A little bit of Jordan Peterson cleaning my own room. So that's why I have to, if you guys will notice, I pause myself a little bit and I'm like, he is a real dill hole. You get used to. So let me be very honest. The biggest shift for me was from girls to boys. And I wouldn't think that. Okay, to be very honest, I got a little cocky and God is like, "Oh, you think you got this parenting thing down?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, I do. I feel like I'm sort of raising these 3 girls okay."
Really?
And
That girls
then
would have
he's
been harder.
yes and no, they're different hard.
Mm,
So, like, boys are, like, kinetic and loud, and
mm.
if they get upset with each other, they just punch each other and they're done. Like, that's just how they
Yeah.
where girls are like, "She said she didn't like me." I'm like, "Okay, well, can you just talk or just not talk to each other?" And it's like and they're like and then you try it's 18 hours of asking your girlfriend, "What is wrong?" And they're like, "Nothing. Nothing is wrong."
Fair enough.
Well, yeah, there's different fears. So my biggest fear, and of course I'm going to speak it out to the universe again because of course, we will get all 3 girls out of school into some sort of trade school. I could tell all of them to go into welding, or something like that. Do not go to college, learn a trade. I'm going to get all of them out, and then I'm going to get the first 2 boys out. And then my youngest and most mentally gifted, but probably Stewie gonna use his powers for evil, is going to get that one MFing crazy middle school teacher that's deadly in love with 13-year-olds, and she is gonna get pregnant with triplets, and I'm gonna have a Mary Kay Letourneau on my hand, and I'm gonna lose my Okay, well, I'm glad I really need to make an alternate, like, baby book, like, baby said, F word in context for the first time. I had to yell about wieners really loud for the first time. I know it's hard. Girls are they're all hard on different ways, but boys are more hard in like, did you eat paint chips? Like it's like raising Tommy Boy. You are
Mm.
always what's his name? David Spade.
Chris Farley.
No, the little
Oh.
guy. He plays Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
No crap, seriously.
We really. What are we talking about now?
This is 8 branches off the tangent tree. If you'd like to know, I've been keeping track.
This is how my mind works normally.
This is, like I say, I have nebulas of thought. That's why I work really hard to stay on track.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's so hard for me to tell a story because I'll just go down a random topic and then completely
Yeah.
forget the point I was trying to make.
All right, let's get back to
Wow, who's this guy?
who is this person? I have no idea. Let's see if he's a straight talker.
Yeah.
But yeah, he took a tactical position with me.
But I wrote down SWAT commander, so did he become a SWAT commander?
I don't want to be missable what his exact thing is. He was in the SWAT team. He obviously had I don't know what his position, if he's an XO or if he was a commander. I'm not sure of his position at that point. That would have to be answered. I think he
This
was
is
a commander,
true.
but I don't know
This
that.
is
Thank you.
true.
But at a minimum,
The only
he's
time I
part of
do
the SWAT
even
unit. He is
attempt
trained
linear
as a
thought.
SWAT officer, and he took a position of cover, did he not?
Yes.
And it was your words that when you took a position of cover, they, however many people you thought they, quote, could be anywhere. Isn't that correct? Those
We
were your
didn't,
words.
I mean, we knew the last place that they were, based off the information that we had, was the last place that the shooting was taking place. The last gunfire that was found was inside of building 12. Is the
Okay.
information that we
But
had.
when you took a position of cover, you didn't know where potentially sniper fire could be coming from,
We
correct?
believed that the shooter was inside of building 12.
Okay.
That's what we believed at that time.
You still were in fear, however, that at any moment you could be under sniper fire,
Sure.
correct?
Well, under fire, yes.
And the only reason why you knew at that point that there was only one shooter versus multiple is because you were then informed of that, correct?
That's correct.
One final question. You've never sat down with my client at any time to say, hey, tell me what you were thinking, what happened during this? No?
I've never spoken to him.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Okay, based on that, you read your written? Go ahead.
No, I'm just surviving until the end of this
Sorry,
witness.
you started to say something and you were cut off a bit. I just want you to clarify.
Oh, at least
You
it's
said that if
redirect.
you had been in uniform and had your gun and you were in that area, you would have ran into that building. What do you mean?
I would have ran towards that sound of that gunfire. I wouldn't have run into a building because I didn't, like I said before, I didn't know where exactly it was coming from. I was only able to ascertain that I felt, based on the observations that I had and the active stimulus that I had at that time, that the gunshots were coming from somewhere in the area between 12 and 1300 building in that open area. Like I said before, and I said, stated yesterday.
Okay, state prosecutor that they just kind of pan pass is let me see if I can go back a little bit. When you order Andrew Branca, but you get it from Wish. See if I can. Damn it, I don't know.
Can you hit the left arrow on your keyboard?
Oh, okay, so there. That's you order
Oh,
Branca
wow.
off
Yes.
of Wish.
Wow.
I mean, it's an unfortunate pause, but
Between 12 and 1300 building in that open area. Like I said before, and I said, stated yesterday, is it could have been on the roof, could have been in the thing, but if I were in a situation and would have been armed in that situation, that is the area in which I would have gone to.
And why do you go towards that area?
Because when the gunshots are going off, you have to assume somebody's dying in that situation.
Does the +1 rule relieve you of your duty to investigate the sound of gunfire?
No,
Why not?
because there's gunfire going off in a situation like that where we believe it to be an active shooter on a school campus.
okay. She's kind of being bitchy. That's not at all what they said or used that in the
Yeah.
context of.
He left
Yes.
his exhibits up there.
He is just all sorts of ballsy. I at first I didn't like him, but now I'm beginning to like him. So Scott Peterson was armed. I am trying to look up if he was wearing any sort of body armor. I would not believe
I don't think
so.
so.
Um, from the footage that they did show of him and has been broadcast of him kind of in that alcove, it does not look like he has any on. So
Yeah.
that would be the thing. So I understand that this officer was in, basketball shorts and a t-shirt, but he also had at least a vest on. So
The only way to stop the active shooter is to stop the threat. The faster we get there, that's why we've gone away from the team and locking down the perimeter and waiting for SRT. Back in the day when I first started, we set a perimeter. You waited for the our SRT team, our SWAT team to show up, and they went in.
sir, you were one of the first police officers that, in the band of the militia that was made when we, founded this town.
And because
Jeff.
they had all the training. That training has gone by the wayside, and we've gone to what's now known as a single officer response. So as a school resource officer, if an active shooter event happens at your school, you are expected to go towards the sounds of gunfire and eliminate the threat.
And is that training well established?
Yes.
Well
But the
understood?
training used to be
Across
the
board,
opposite.
Whether it's Coral Springs Police Department or the Broward Sheriff's Office.
Well, all of this is moot if he doesn't know where
Yeah.
the gunman is. And if he was, basically without a radio, it looks like they haven't shown the entire footage, so I don't know if anyone was able to go past him and say, "Hey, look, we found him.
Mhm.
Come here. We're rallying at, Charlie Point Alpha."
Yeah.
So it's really kind of interesting that, again, I the more I see the state do things like this, the more I get irritated. Well, the +1 thing doesn't mean you have to, not run towards they didn't use it in that context.
Yeah. Had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, that's what I really don't like when the state does things like this.
Yeah.
That's what's instructed.
Yes.
Now, I'm gonna use defense as demonstrative. You were actually a couple hundred yards
True.
away when you first heard the gunfire,
Yes,
correct?
I'm a baseball field.
Okay, and from that distance, you still knew that those were gunshots as you moved closer.
Once I got the other stimulation, like I said before. and
Oh my
first
God.
initially
Stop
thought it was
stimulating
fireworks,
yourself.
because you had the firearm. I mean, that's what you thought. But then once you get the other stimulation, the kids, the information from Bonner, all
I
those
give up.
things, which I was able to obtain by going towards.
What was the camera guy doing?
I was able to get
This
that
camera guy
information,
is like
and that was
someone's
able to
nephew.
allow me to say, okay, yeah, this isn't just fireworks anymore. This is a much more serious situation.
And whether it's fireworks or firecrackers, as a school resource officer, when you were a school resource officer, or even that day on the field, do you move towards those sounds?
Yes, you have to go investigate it. I mean, that's what even if it's fireworks, you're gonna go investigate.
You have to know where to
Fireworks.
investigate.
Because throwing a fireworks into a school, setting off an alarm is a violation of school.
Better not sleep with Jody. She's mine.
What he is basically saying is that regardless, he used to be a school resource officer. So if he were to
Poor
place
kids.
himself back in, they quit gang life because he just wouldn't stop talking to him. Regardless if it is fireworks, which I still can't believe every time I say it, that, someone is putting off fireworks in school, you still would have to go investigate it. You can be like, oh, well, those are fireworks. Those are just bottle rockets and Roman candles where, it's no gunfire today. But they're using it in a disingenuous way, and I don't like it. So basically, he is just talking... He's giving you common sense, yes. Regardless of whether it was gunfire or fireworks, either way, because there was a fire alarm going off and, odd noises, yes, I would run towards it. It's just,
Yeah, that makes sense.
School policy. Could be some criminal, opportunities in that also, as criminal investigation, things like that. You're going to go and investigate that.
That information that you were able to relay to dispatch, you had that information because you moved forward to the sound of gunfire, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Coach Bonner didn't have a gun on him that day.
No, he did not.
And did Aaron Feist have a gun on him?
No,
Did David Taylor have a gun on him?
no,
Did Chris Hickson have a gun on him?
no.
this is so slimy.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong at all. These people, these, school monitors that went in unarmed to try to help kids are heroes.
Sure.
But swinging their dead bodies around to, beat someone else
Yeah.
is why I really did not want to watch the town hall from CNN. Because it's just, well, I get to use the dead body this way and I get to use it. It's just, it's so gross to me. And that's why I use the very kind of forward, swing
Yeah.
the dead body around, because that's what you're doing to me.
Yeah. Exploiting them.
So that's so gross to me.
Definitely.
Did Scott Peterson have a gun on him?
Yes.
Based on your training and experience, as you got closer to the gunshots, even though you had seen this window, and at that point there's gunfire, you still continued to investigate those sounds and remained in that proximity, correct?
Correct. The only time we stopped was once we found out that there were people inside the building already searching the building. And like I explained before, we didn't want to cause a problem with the number of people that were already inside that building. And then we were removed, once the SWAT team got there from VSO, they went in and they took over command of that building.
She looks like she would be very upset if you put the vinaigrette on top of her salad and didn't bring it on the side. She'd send it back.
She's kind of cute though.
She's very cute. She's very attractive. I understand the game. I understand the game that the state is playing. If I were a lawyer, I don't know that I'd want to be attached to it.
Yeah. No way I'd want to be a prosecutor.
Yeah. And I don't know that I'd want to be a defense. Really, I just want to be I just want to instantly go to court TV and tell people about myself. Like, hi, this is the Mo Show. I only got my law degree to talk about it on the internet.
Yeah.
That's when the two teams searched the building.
I want to discuss the position of cover that you explained. You explained that if you believe you are under gunfire, it can, depending on the circumstances, make sense to take a position of cover.
There's this idea that I've had. It's like a metal thing with 3 legs, and you put like a cross thing on it, and then you can put these posters on it. I think it's a big idea. We'll sell millions, Eddie. Just, what is their religious compulsion against easels?
I just love how they were like leaving it all these giant exhibits all over the courtroom.
Like it wasn't $150 to have that app. That
I wonder how much it cost. Seriously, it's huge.
I know, that's what I'm trying to figure out. And the gloss. And
I know, you got to get it laminated.
And it looks like it's substantial, like that. Science fair board.
Yeah.
Yeah, C-Swept. C-Swept, sorry. I swear to goodness, one of these days.
Yes.
I will be, in fact, I will be the professional YouTuber that Sarah Boone accused me of being.
Correct? All right. Now, does that change whether there's active stimulus of the sounds of gunfire versus no active stimulus?
Yes, and it changes in the situation that you're in.
I don't want to hear about his changing stimulus.
We had that point when we took the thing, we knew there was people already inside the building.
You'll start talking about his prostate soon.
Inside the building. And
I don't doubt it.
Could exacerbate that and cause more complex problems. So you take a position of cover. If somebody does show
Jiminy
themselves and start shooting
Christmas.
out the
He's still
window,
got,
we would
oh,
have returned
okay.
fire.
It just
We would
looks
have,
long. He's
shot
got
at
like
the
12 more
suspect or,
minutes, but I was
Oh.
like,
you know,
God.
whatever situation. Because that's the whole idea of taking a position of cover in that situation. And, you know, if somebody, I don't know what's going on, maybe they're going up one side of the stairs and the guy comes down the other side of the stairs and pops out a door, we're in a position to cover then to take that custody, take the appropriate measures to take that person into custody or to use lethal force if necessary.
Now, if you believe that there is sniper fire coming from the 1200 building, is it a tactical position of cover to stand in the line of that sniper fire?
I don't know exactly where he was standing, so I don't feel comfortable.
Well, not where he was standing, I'm asking you generally, I agree.
I mean,
Is
solid
it tactical?
oh,
walls.
no,
solid-
you don't, you absolute butt monkey. You are over here like, "Oh, of course, that was just hypothetical." Ma'am. You're cute, but don't make me dislike you.
Yeah, I'll stick with
Mud
Jody.
walls, concrete, those are all considered good cover. A concealment is more like something like a tree or a bush or something like that, that can actually, the difference between like cover and concealment is cover is like a hard surface, like a concrete wall.
We're never
Engine
getting out of
block,
here.
vehicle, things like that. Where
We're like, just
concealment
finish
is,
this witness.
yeah,
You'll be
behind
fine.
a hedge, but
Talking.
if somebody starts shooting, the hedge isn't gonna stop me from getting shot. Yeah, it gives me concealment, maybe the person doesn't see me as well, but, so that's the difference before. So if.
Stop talking about
if he was
heads, sir.
Behind the wall or a concrete, yes, that would be a place of cover.
And again, let me phrase it this way. If you're not behind a wall, if you're standing exposed to potential sniper fire, is that a tactical position of cover?
No,
And in that sense, would it make sense to move closer to the building?
I would move to the nearest piece of cover that I could, whether it be a pillar or a wall, a side of a wall, side of a building, something that gives me that hard cover.
From my room
And again,
now.
all of this is determined by whether there's gunfire or there isn't gunfire,
Correct.
stimulus or no stimulus.
Correct.
And now you, at some point, did take a tactical position of cover, correct?
Yes.
Did you remain in that position of cover?
A
for 48
tactic.
minutes?
I remained there until we were told over the radio that he no longer.
Tacit agreement.
And that was when I hooked up with our canine officer.
He was
Booker,
substained.
and began searching for suspects
Grounds.
out of Southwest.
Swear to all that is holy. Sometimes I have to, I'm like, it is not sustained, you moron. When I'm typing, it is sustained.
God bless Terrell Brooks. I mean, he did so much destruction, and it was just so funny, though.
You know, it's like that was the one shining thing. The only thing I wish is that they had given him, and I know it's kind of like two worlds, and I don't know that they wanted to go there, but you know, have his assistant counsel ask questions of the victims. It was just, but did you see a license plate? Well, no, the wheel I did see though, the wheel.
No, I just got ran over by a car.
It and then he's like, his closing, I remember losing my mind because I'm like, did he just blame God? God and the Ford company? Like, we will
Reading the
never,
Bible all trial.
he's like, we will never know why God let this happen. And then to say, like, I know I am not a man of God yet. I'm like, sir,
He's
everyone
going
in
to
this
find God in prison.
everyone in this courtroom is moving 1.5 steps away from you because you are already wearing metal. God, you might not want to be invoking his name. Okay. God is like, I would like to be left out of this conversation. Me and Buddha are over here. Okay. We don't want to be bothered.
When he tried to call with state of Wisconsin to the stand.
Oh my God. He is such a, you know, he is the small cancerous hemorrhoid on the butt of humanity.
Yes.
For the corner of the school.
Just a moment to confirm.
No problem.
And she threw his friends out there too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely feel a change in his thing or the thing when she's like, "Hey, do you remember that friend that you knew for like 30 years and he got dead? Remember that? Remember when you had 5 more friends? Remember?"
Yes.
You don't
It
have a
just
lot of friends anymore.
it's just a ploy and it's cheap and I don't like it. And so,
Jesus.
And I'm gonna hand this back to the clerk. I have no further questions.
Is
Based on
there-
that and recross.
Just one question.
Was
The last thing that was covered was you, if I heard you correctly, you remained in that tactical position of cover until
Okay.
you knew it was safe to come out, correct?
Until we were told that the suspect was no longer in the building. He had not been caught at that moment when we were actually actively searching. We were told that based on the video evidence that they were eventually able to get, that he was no longer in that building, that he had left the building and was last going westbound through the school.
Okay, so you knew that it was no longer, first of all, you knew there was only one suspect at that point, correct?
Two
Yeah,
questions.
that was all the information we had at that point,
And
yes.
you also knew that he was no longer shooting, correct?
That's correct. There were no shots for quite some time.
And then you came out of your
4.
tactical position of cover, correct?
Yes, once we were told.
Do not
that
ask
the,
open
that
effing
he had left that
questions.
building Was no longer in that
We
immediate
were
area
so
where we believed to
close.
be in 1200 building. We then began to search the rest of the school.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, okay.
state, is the witness excused?
Yes, Judge, state the witness.
All right. We are going to stop it there because
I want to ask more questions.
I want to go ahead because they are doing really shady, bringing in, emotional stuff. And I want to
Yeah.
kind of pre-screen that to make sure that there's not, because I will forewarn you all, day one has terrible audio. Like you thought that the Daryl Brooks case was bad. Let me see if I can pull up my notes for it because I'll kind of explain it, just to give you an idea, because it really is. Because they had to listen to it before even the jury came out, because you hear this and it's basically floor one.
Yeah.
So the first video, at first I thought someone was, not breathing. It's heavy, deep breathing into a mic, and I thought it was maybe someone in the courtroom. But then you start hearing the very sharp alarm, and you hear the shots being fired. And there's no talking, but you definitely start to feel very anxious, especially if you're like me and you don't like loud siren noises.
Yeah.
And then the next video they play, I mean, you still hear the siren going, and you hear screams. And I believe someone says, "What the F?" And there's a sound in there that I can only describe as, I've only heard it once before. And it was when my youngest son, who is my crazy one, we have an old house. So there's hammering from like the pipes in the wall.
Sure.
And he was genuinely terrified that we had a ghost, like genuinely. And it was like this high pitched keening, like moan almost. So, and during this audio, they are panning towards the parents. And some of the parents walked out, and one gentleman had earplugs in, which I could totally get, because they had to play this not only once, but twice, because they played it before the jury came out. And when the judge said, "Look, it's more probative than prejudiced." So then when the first witness, Danielle Gilbert, was the one that took the video or the videos, when she came out, they played it again. And this particular father had the earplugs in, but I mean, he still lost it. So
Sure.
it was terrible.
Yeah. I
And
couldn't imagine.
that's what
reliving.
I would much rather,
Interesting.
No, I didn't.
I know in the Mark Jensen case, Corey Schroffsky and Mark Richards both popped in to watch parts of it.
Huh. To be honest, with Daryl Brooks, half of my time was just let him get shocked. I just need to see those ankle bracelets work. So, but
he-
yeah, ahead.
On one of the days, when he got his COVID test back, and the judge wanted to know what the results were, and he's like, "Well, I don't want to tell you." So they went to the break, and afterwards, apparently, he got the shit beat out of him by the guards. And he
Well,
was
I
like
guess he
crying.
laid on the table like Spider Monkey, like when all starfish on it, trying to keep them from getting it, and they had to peel him off because he's not a big guy in
No,
comparison
he's
to
tiny.
like the giant deputy that they had. Not deputy, wish he would, because I believe I don't know what Vices called him, but he was the one that was stone faced through most of it, and I just said, "Wish a Brooks would." Well, you guys, this has been fun, but I am going
Yes.
to get up because honestly, my leg does not like being sitting down for a long time.
Don't blame you.
Oh, like I said, I was honestly maybe not paying attention to anyone except for his like best friend that seemed to be seated always in a winter coat, full winter coat right behind him. But you guys have a good day.
Yes.
Salvador, did you want to promote your channel? Or
Just follow me on Twitter at Babu the Aussie Cat. OCICAT.
I will have to get someone else to write things down for me. So we will probably be doing this weekly or bi-weekly. I'm really going to work on mainly just taking down timestamps of kind of terrible audio, terrible pictures, and then giving you the sort of unbiased things. And once I figure out how to clip things, get those in there. And if we run across another, long talking witness, I'll probably do those. But this is a 3-month case. It seems like they're going to be doing a lot of Nicholas Cruz redux. And
Yes.
I don't want you guys to have to suffer through that. So have
bless
a
you.
really good day. Like and subscribe. Tell all your friends except my mother,
Yes.
who must
You don't
never
want
know.
parents. Trust me.
Never know. Yes. Have a great day. Go enjoy the sunshine or the night shine or whatever you are. And I'll see you guys later.
Bye.